What if Godlike Goku in Hogwarts? Let's move to the video. Gohan, Harry, and the Chamber of Secrets. Rest well. Remind me of your power. To be my constant bell. Of light and right, like a shower. Of stars. Anonymous. Poems for grief. Prologue. Tears and pain mixed so well that day. Sunlight bright and strong, the spring breeze whispering through branches, ran oxen lounging around almost listlessly. Mother and son stood together, their arms tightly wrapped around each other. They stood under the sun, its light so bright it taunted the darkness that indwelled within them, both of them lost in grief. To lose a husband again, to lose a father again, one was never desensitized to the loss of a loved one, even if that loved one somehow died a second time. Gohan saw a Sendai Mashikui lying helplessly on the ground. Its wings were colored brown, its body small and white. From a kiss-shaped gash on its tiny chest, blood flowed out. He watched it die. He left his mother's arms. Kai turned slowly to look at him and then stiffened as her son crushed the helpless bird with his cold hands. As fragile as life itself, he whispered, his eyes brimming with tears, his hands letting go, letting its brown feathers fly away with spring breeze. Chapter 1. I've missed you, Gohan. We will fight. 1 month after the Cell Games. Gohan smiled as he looked at the sight before him. He loved the plains, the forests, the lakes, the mountains. Despite having lived here all his life, he could never shake off the awe and delight he felt whenever he flew over the mountain area in which his quaint home resided. Perhaps flying itself was what made it that much more spectacular, but he knew that was only one part of it. It was a beautiful fresh day, a welcome break from the oppressive summer heat. Speaking of comfort, Nimbus was as comfortable as he last remembered. It had been a while since he had ridden his father's cloud, but today he had gotten the urge to. I've missed you, buddy, he said to the cloud. The cloud picked up speed at that and did a few somersaults, Gohan's laughter whipping through the air. As the village he was looking for came into sight, Gohan grew excited. It hadn't been a long time since the last time he was here, but it sure did feel like it. Still in the sky, he leapt off Nimbus. See ya, Nimbus. I'll call you when I'm done here. The cloud flew off to the east. Gohan used his Kai to slow his descent. The village was bustling with activity, kids frolicking around, a few couples strolling about, hands interlocked, merchants haggling with customers over produce, meats, and trinkets. The last time he had been here it had felt like a ghost town. He smiled, happy that all these people were once again enjoying life and proud that he had helped give them back the opportunity. He walked into a familiar old shop and set his eyes on the back of a familiar old man. What can I do for you today? Good morning, Mr. Lau. How have you been? The old man, now facing him, stared at Gohan, slightly startled by his bright young voice. Gohan. I'm better than ever. I didn't recognize you for a second. Smiled. Yeah, I know. My hair and eyes change when I raise my power. Nodded. Oh, I thought you were just going for the dark and handsome look. Lime told me that'll probably be back in style once everyone gets over the gold fighter. His eyes were full of youthful mirth. Gohan laughed. I'm glad people liked our style. Gohan looked around at all the people in his shop. It looks like business is going well. Absolutely. Everyone is relieved that Cell was destroyed and they're enjoying every minute of it. Thank you, Gohan. Gohan just smiled, unsurprised. Mr. Lau was too wise to not have known. Of course, Mr. Lau. I just did what I had to do. I couldn't let such evil continue living. You're a remarkable young man. You must have made your father proud. How is he? He put up an amazing fight. His smile faltered as he saw Gohan grimace and clench his hands. I'm sorry, Gohan, he consoled. Gohan nodded. It's okay. It's still hard to accept, but right after he died I talked to him. He's in the other world. He's having fun up there with some friends and he's watching over my mom and me. That's all I needed to hear. S expression warmed at that. Well, Gohan, I'm sure you didn't come all the way here just to see this old man. Lime is home right now. She lives with her parents on 5th Street. It's the house with the gnomes out front. Gohan raised a sole eyebrow. Gnomes. It was Lime's idea. She said they're cute. Keep this between you and me, I think they're dreadful. Gohan said goodbye. It had been a while since he'd seen Lime. Whenever he thought of her his mind would always wander back to when they had first met. He still had no idea why she had gotten so angry with him for saving her. She was a bit hard-headed, but not to the extent that her pride would get hurt like Vegeta's if she were saved. He didn't really want to ask though. She might yell at him, and females were always scary when they yelled. He was glad her parents had been revived. He was also knew that it had something to do with Gohan and his friends. Gohan arrived at the house and knocked on the front door. He heard footsteps rush down a staircase and reached the door. Not much later the door whipped open with youthful energy. Gohan smiled brightly at the 10-year-old. Hi, Lime. Lime looked confused. Who are you? After a few moments a flicker of recognition lit up Lime's big blue eyes. Gee, Gohan. Gohan chuckled. I'm glad you recognized me, Lime. I was starting to feel offended. She threw herself at Gohan, tightly embracing him to his surprise. I missed you so much. I was wondering if you'd ever come see me again. Gohan awkwardly returned the embrace and nervously chuckled. Wow, Lime, I didn't know you liked me that much. We only talked to each other for one day a month ago. Her body stiffened and she pushed him away, a blush of anger and embarrassment on her face. Listen here, butthead. We had a lot of fun that one day and you saved me from dying and then saved my grandpa from dying. Of course I'm going to miss you. But I don't like you like that. If anything, you're the one who likes me. But I thought we both liked each other. I mean like. Gohan gave her a blank look. I thought there was only one type of like, well, aside from the like used when comparing one thing to another. Lime's sweat dropped. Unbelievable, she whispered, Gohan still being able to hear her with his Saiyan hearing. You're a year older than me, Gohan. How do you not know what I mean? I'm not sure, Gohan said, his innocent eyes marked with confusion. Lime giggled. It's okay, Gohan. I'm sure someday soon you'll know what I mean. If you say so. Don't just stand there. Come in. The living room, its wooden floors old and rugged, was small, cozy, and simply decorated. The lone tan couch in front of a modest television set looked as comfortable as any other couch. Gohan saw the kitchen and immediately thoughts of food filled his mind. He shook them off, his mom having made sure he was well fed so as to not be an inconvenience to Lime's parents because of his voracious appetite. You're lucky, Gohan, we don't have to pay our rent or make mortgage payments. Nearly all our money goes to buying groceries. If we had these obligations like other families do, you'd probably have to eat like a normal adult, Kai remarked. What do you mean by normal? I'm sure you've seen Krillin eat. He's a healthy man about your size. Gohan shuddered at the thought. They walked upstairs to Lime's room. It was a comfortable size for a bedroom. Her bed sheets were a baby blue, a good color for summer he thought, and there were tons of pillows on her bed to his bewilderment. He only used one for his bed back home. Framed pictures of her and her parents and others of her with her friends stood on what appeared to be a table she studied on in her dresser. An autographed poster of a martial artist in his late teens was tacked onto the wall adjacent to her bed, a bunch of pink hearts Lime drew on it, making Gohan raise an eyebrow. Should I sit in your chair? He asked. That's a funny thing to ask. You're not going to stand, are you? If you want to, but you can sit with me on my bed too. Okay, sure. They sat Indian style on the bed. Are your parents home, by the way? Nope, they're at work. Too bad, I was hoping to meet them. I guess that means you'll just have to come visit me again, cutie. She gave him a wink. Gohan blushed. A girl had never called him cute before. Lime giggled. Success. Embarrassed, Gohan. No, she gave him a knowing look. I've just never had a girl my own age call me cute. Some adults have though. Gohan's played with his thumbs as he struggled to come up with something to say. He was actually feeling a little embarrassed. So, what happened to your hair and eyes, Gohan? Did you dye it or something? You look so cool. Oh yeah. My hair and eyes change color when I fully power up. That's a little weird, but I guess that's just really advanced martial arts. Yeah, really advanced martial arts. He chuckled nervously. Wait, do I still look okay? I mean, like this? He even felt a bit self-conscious now. He was confused why he even asked the question. Lime smiled. Oh, of course you do, Gohan. You just look more like a good little boy now. She teased. He was for a moment regretting having come to see Lime. Anyway, your grandpa is looking great. He said, attempting to lead the conversation elsewhere. She perked up. Yeah, grandpa is better than ever. It's like he's not even an old man anymore. He's even been teaching me martial arts. Lime's expression grew serious as she clenched her fists and then proceeded to throw a few punches. Hi-oo. Gohan grinned. Awesome. Hey, if you want, I can teach you some moves too. Lime shrieked and Gohan almost fell off the bed. Ah. That'd be amazing. Being taught by the boy who beat Cell. You know? Of course I know. I'm not a dummy like everyone else. It was amazing what you did. But I was really worried when your dad picked you to fight. After seeing his fight with Cell, I thought you didn't stand a chance and Cell was going to kill you. She trailed off, recalling how anxious and sad she had felt. And then when he had you in that bear hug, I just couldn't look away. I felt so scared for you, Gohan, she ended with a whisper. Gohan shut his eyes and his whole body started shivering. He remembered. He would never forget. The bear hug and the merciless beating of his friends at the hands of Cell's children. He had had that nightmare every night for the past month. That was one of the most physically painful moments of his life, only topped by Rikum breaking his neck on Namek. When Cell released him, he thought he was finally going to die. But at least he managed to delude himself into believing his father and his friends would avenge him. Somehow, someway. All that mattered was Cell being destroyed. But Cell wouldn't have any of that. Cell wanted to release Gohan's hidden power, and he'd do whatever it took. As he saw Cell spawn fight his friends, his delusion was ripped apart. He realized that if he didn't kill Cell himself, all his friends and his father would die, and it'd be his fault for being a pathetic weakling who wouldn't fight. From that point on, the nightmare would show flashes of Gohan in his new ascended Super Saiyan state, Super Saiyan 2, as he now called it, toying with Cell, Gohan's usually kind innocent face, now that of a sadist. "You're not a boy. You're a monster." Gohan had mused on that statement every day since then. It made him feel disgusted with himself. How could he reach such a point of utter depravity that Cell himself called him a monster? Even though he never let anyone know it, it was eating him alive. He didn't know how to properly construe that statement. Maybe I really am a monster was all Gohan would think sometimes. The nightmare would then make him relive the saddest moment of his life, his father looking at him with his brave, fearless eyes, standing next to the monstrous creature Cell, grossly ballooned to revolting proportions, his body's energy surging, his very life force flowing through his lizard-like figure, hot dry wind swelling around them and billowing out along with sparks of energy. Gohan didn't care about death anymore. He looked into his father's eyes. Those were the eyes that would make Gohan always feel safe, that would make him know everything would be alright. But Gohan knew what his father was about to do. Nothing would be alright, nothing could ever again be alright. He saw a last glimmer of pride and love in his father's teal eyes as he said his goodbye. He vanished and Gohan's heart shattered. The winds picked up and Trunks would be dead a heartbeat later. Gohan's blood ran ice cold, that laugh he heard, that evil febrile laugh that made his insides churn in utter disgust. A fury he had never felt before consumed him whole, and then it just ended. He would wake up to the sight of bloody sheets, his hands having clenched them so tightly he had ripped the skin of his palms open. Every night it had been like this. He felt a warm, comforting embrace. "Gohan, I'm sorry for making you remember that. It's okay, now though. Cell's gone and you're my and everyone else's hero, even if the fools don't know that." He broke free from her embrace, Lime reluctantly letting go. Tears were flowing from his eyes uncontrollably. He felt shame and wanted to put a stop to his crying, but he couldn't. How could he let Lime see him like this? "No, Lime, you don't understand. It wasn't just the mindless suffering my friends and I experienced. My father," he couldn't say it. It hurt too much to acknowledge the mistake he made, but he had to. "I killed him," he choked out. Lime's eyes widened. "Gohan," her voice breathless. "There's no way you killed your father. I know you would never do that." Gohan began to feel rage rise up through his body. "I killed him. I managed to gain the power to kill Cell. But I just wanted to torture him so he would feel the pain and torment of all the people he killed. I took it too far. My dad told me to kill him, but I didn't listen. I wanted to prolong his pain like a sick freak. Cell himself called me a monster." He looked into Lime's eyes, expecting something entirely different from the concern and care he saw. "And then Cell revealed to me he was going to self-destruct and destroy the planet. There was nothing I could do at that point and I fell to my knees, crying like a helpless child. But my dad knew what to do. He always did. He knew this technique that instantly teleports you to places, and so he teleported himself off this planet, took Cell with him, and died a hero." Lime grabbed Gohan's hand and held it consolingly. To Gohan's surprise, all of Lime's gestures were making feel him better, comforted. He hadn't thought it was possible. But then that revolting creature came back. "My father's death was in vain. I ended up killing Cell and saving the world. My friends thanked me, told me that my dad was proud of me, but I knew deep down it was my fault he died." Lime hugged him tightly, Gohan's body tense and hot with rage, but Lime unperturbed. "Gohan, you didn't kill your dad. You saved the world. Without you, we'd all be dead. Yes, you made a mistake, but you're only 11. 11-year-olds shouldn't have the fate of the world in their hands. As long as you learn from your mistake, it's okay, and I know you will. You're not a monster. You're the sweetest boy I've ever. The other boys I know are total jerks." Gohan couldn't help but smile a bit at that. He knew she was telling him the truth, and finally revealing everything that happened to someone who wasn't affiliated with the Z Fighters made him feel better. He did keep crying, softly now though. He was releasing all the pain, all the sorrow of the past month, and it felt good to let go while in the embrace of a girl his age that cared about him. They stayed like that for several minutes. All Lime could think about was soothing her friend and being there for him. Eventually, they let go of their embrace, Gohan now with a warm smile on his face. "Thank you, Lime. I really needed that. I didn't think doing all this would make me feel this much better, but it did. Of course, Gohan. I know we've only known each other for a short time, but I really like you. You're an amazing person and fun friend." He grinned. "Then let's go out and have some fun." Gohan pumped his fist into the air, Lime soon following suit. "Yeah." They hung out for next 2 hours as Lime showed Gohan around town, talking about anything and everything. Lime told him that she had only been to the city once, her mother going to meet an old friend. She brought Lime to show her the city and keep her friend's daughter occupied with a new friend. The city crept Lime out, but at the same time she couldn't shake off the feeling awe. She kept on having dreams about it. One day she decided she wanted to move abroad and make it big in a foreign city. She wasn't sure how, especially since she didn't particularly like school much, to Gohan's amazement. But how can you not like school? It just isn't for me. But it's fun. Well, I guess if you're a nerd it is. Hey. Vegeta had called him that a lot when Gohan talked about his studies. It's okay, Gohan. At least you're a cute nerd. Gohan blushed and Lime giggled. They talked some more. There's this TV show I really like. It's called Family Dude, Lime quipped. What's it about? It's really funny. It's about this really stupid American guy and his weird family doing all sorts crazy things. Oh, wait, I think I saw it once. But my mom turned off the TV and grounded me for a week. She told me she was very disappointed that I was watching such vile filth. Lime whistled. Wow, Gohan. Your mom is harsh. No wonder you're such a goody two-shoes. I'm not a goody two-shoes. Oh yes you are. You take that back. Lime stuck out her tongue and boisterously declared, never. She ran off into the woods and Gohan chased after her, although he made sure to exercise restraint and really slow himself down. Lime found it funny how much he was holding back. You'll never catch me alive. We'll see about that, Slowpoke. Oh I can run faster. You watch. She started sprinting away only to have Gohan slide right next to her, yawning as he jogged. Is that the best you can do? Lime growl became a yelp as Gohan decided to end the game. Gotcha. Gohan got on top of Lime and started tickling her. Gohan. Ha ha ha. Gohan please stop it. Ha ha ha. Have mercy ha. Lime struggled underneath Gohan. She tried to push him off, but he wouldn't budge even a millimeter. Kami, he's insanely strong. Never. Oh come on. I'll give you some more hugs. Haha. Haha. I can tell you like my hugs. Gohan did like Lime's hugs. Just as he was about to answer, he heard an arrogant voice ask, so, when's the wedding? Gohan paled as he turned around. There he was, the prince of all Saiyans, the smirking Vegeta. Beep. Lime flailed a bit, trying to get Gohan off, shocked by the sudden appearance of the strange man. Vegeta. Gohan was both confused and embarrassed, his face quickly turning a beet red, and when Lime realized Gohan knew the guy she felt comfortable enough to turn a beet red with him, in response to the man's mocking question. Gohan turned his head to look at Lime. Noticing how close his face was to hers, he instantly jumped off of her, 15 feet in the air, to Lime's amusement. She picked herself up and dusted off her clothes. Vegeta snorted in disgust at the sight of the two. Well brat, it seems your maid is already learning how to use her female powers as a bargaining chip. The woman does it to me all the time. Make sure to put her in her place as your subordinate before she gets too comfortable and becomes a nagging bitch. Oh my god, what's wrong with you? Lime shrieked. Vegeta growled, annoyed by how loud she was, and gave her a mean look, making her shrink back a little. Human females are so irritating. Gohan looked at Vegeta, horrified. Is he trying to ruin my life? Vegeta. She's not my mate. I'm only 11 and she's 10 for Kami's sake. Vegeta cackled. So. Here's a little history lesson for you, half-breed. Marriage did not exist on planet Vegeta because we were a warrior race who found the idea of signing a contract to enjoy one vagina or one penis for an entire life ludicrous. Most of our people started having sex in their early to mid-teens. Just like fighting is in your blood, so is sex. Gohan felt sick. He didn't know exactly what the sex thing was, his mom always made him skip that part of the biology book, but he knew it was inappropriate. Well, we're not even teenagers yet, Vegeta. Sheesh. What are you even talking about now? Lime asked, very alarmed. Vegeta grunted. Tell your mate to shut up brat. She's getting on my nerves. Gohan glared at him. For the last time Vegeta, she's not my mate. She's my friend. Whatever, brat, he said, all the while chuckling. Gohan, what does he mean by your people and planet Vegeta? Oh no I hate you Dand. Mom specifically told me not to tell Lime anything about me being half alien. I just made my first real friend my own age and now she's going to think I'm a freak. You still haven't told your mate about our Saiyan race. I hate you too Vegeta. Gohan just chose to ignore Vegeta's flagrantly inappropriate use of the word, although he did notice Lime's slight embarrassment. Well Lime you see. Out with it brat. Be proud of your Saiyan heritage. Seems like Vegeta has really become quite the nationalist in these last few weeks. Wait, no, that's the wrong word. A racist. Oops of course not, that's not what I was going for, but now that I think about it he broke out of his thoughts. I'm half alien. He did try to think of something else to say, but nothing else came to mind. Wow, all that schooling and that's the best I can come up with. Well put, brat. Lime's eyes shot open. Wait, what? Gohan realized he needed to explain more than that. My dad was an alien. Saiyans are what we're called. We are a warrior race, and we're naturally much stronger than humans, and we have an insatiable lust for fighting, although we look exactly like humans. Well, I'm half human, but yeah, the only difference is we're born with a tail, although I got mine removed, so did my dad, Vegeta over there. And Vegeta's son. There is only one full Saiyan left now that my dad died, and that's Vegeta, the prince of all Saiyans. In other words, he's the prince of himself. Great jurisdiction, huh? Vegeta growled and Gohan laughed. Rarely did he get the best of Vegeta. If you include his son and me, we're half Saiyans. There's a total of 2 Saiyans currently alive. Some alien tyrant named Frieza destroyed the planet Vegeta, which was the Saiyans' home planet, and so wiped out almost the entire race. My dad killed Frieza. More like Mirai Trunks, but there's no point in explaining that too. Lime looked at him blankly, amazed. So you guys are basically just humans but really strong and really mean. Yeah, pretty much. Vegeta didn't like the comparison to humans one bit. Lime smiled. Well, that explains a lot. Wait, you're not going to freak out? No, of course not. I always knew there was something different about you, Gohan. How could an 11-year-old completely human kid do what you do? How could any human do what you do? I don't care as long as you're not a weird alien-looking thing just using a human disguise. She shuddered. Gohan laughed. No, definitely not. Are you thinking of that alien movie? I think it had the word thing in it. Yeah. That's the one. That gave me nightmares for like a year. I really shouldn't have watched that with her. With whom did you watch it? I watched it with my mom's friend's daughter, the city one. I forgot her name, but she was really nice and cool too. More of a tomboy than even me, although I don't really think of myself as much of a tomboy. She said she managed to sneak the DVD from her parents' rated R collection, and well, we ended up watching it. We both really regretted it. Yeah, it was pretty scary. Even though I know I could in the real world defeat it, I still had a few nightmares. You know, it makes me feel a lot better knowing that we have you to protect the Earth now that I think about. I mean, now that you beat Cell, I feel like nothing can harm us as long as you're here. Thanks, Lime. No, thank you, Gohan. By the way, how did you watch that movie? I thought your mom was really strict. Well, I sort of ended up borrowing my dad's friend's DVD version of it a while back because I thought it looked cool. I just never got back to returning it or telling him I took it. So you aren't a complete goody two-shoes, after all. Nope. There's more to me than meets the eye. He grinned and gave her a wink. Vegeta growled. Brat, let's go. We have more important things to do than standing around babbling all day. He was clearly bored. You haven't even told me what we're going to do. Let's go. Fine. Gohan looked at Lime. I'm going to get going now. It was great seeing you again. Lime hugged him. I had a lot of fun. Make sure to visit me soon, mister. I'll try. You better do more than try. Gohan and Vegeta took off into the air, Lime staring at them wistfully as they flew farther and farther away. I want to do that. When Gohan starts training me, I'm going to make sure he teaches me how to fly. Gohan followed Vegeta's lead in silence for a few miles and then turned to the prince of no full-blooded Saiyans. So why are you here, Vegeta? You're not the type to visit. I'm here to spar with you, Vegeta said. Gohan grimaced and looked down at the ground. He couldn't bring himself to say it for some reason, but he had to. I don't want to fight anymore. So few were his words, yet he felt so much shame for saying them to Vegeta, the prince of all Saiyans. Although Gohan never truly felt like a Saiyan, saying such a thing felt like blasphemy to the heritage that was undeniably his. Revealing his intentions to this man made it feel like he was defiling his own Saiyan blood and betraying the prince himself. Such sudden strong feelings toward his Saiyan heritage confused him, as they didn't exist before the Cell games, but they were there for whatever reason, and that was all that mattered. Vegeta halted, raising his eyebrow and giving Gohan a dangerous look. What was that? He asked, his tone biting, probing. Gohan took a deep breath. I said I don't want to fight anymore. You will fight, boy. It's in your blood. He let his shame go and as his guilt overwhelmed it. I don't care if it's in my blood. It's not who I am. I'm half human. I don't care for pain or destruction. I don't care about being the strongest in the universe. I just want peace in my life and I don't feel at peace with myself when I fight. I become angry, resentful, violent, sadistic. You saw it yourself, Vegeta, when I fought Cell. That's not who I want to be. Vegeta looked at him with what appeared to be empathy. Gohan wasn't sure what to expect now. Vegeta grunted, reluctant to say what he was about to say, but he knew he had to. I somewhat understand, Gohan. Immediately after the Cell games, I remember saying that I would never fight again. I was ashamed that you, Kakarot's brat, and Kakarot himself surpassed me and saved my life many times. After your clown of a father died, I didn't know what to do. I had been training all that time to surpass him and reclaim my destiny, my status as Prince of all Saiyans, and become the strongest warrior in the universe. But with the death of your father I had nothing to train for. He died saving my life one last time, and you also nearly died saving me. I was useless. Gohans looked at him, taken aback. Vegeta was opening up to him. He tried to look less surprised, lest Vegeta become angry. Then why do you want to spar? Hesitating for just a second, Vegeta then said, you will never repeat this to anyone, understand? He gave him his patented death glare to drive home his point. Yes. Good. This last month I've grown fond of Bulma and my son. I didn't care much for them before the androids arrived, but spending time with my son from the future and seeing him die, well, that changed me in some way. And so I allowed myself to grow fond of them. Now that I care about them, I feel like I understand your father much better. I had always known his reasons for fighting were not singular. He loved fighting just like any other Saiyan, he wanted to get stronger because he wanted to be the best he possibly could be, but he also fought and strove for strength because he wanted to protect those he loved. He stopped for a second and then continued. I had always thought his last reason was for the weak. I fought for myself and perhaps to avenge my people and make them proud, but that's it. But now I want to protect Bulma and my son. I couldn't care less about the other weaklings that inhabit this planet. The only other people I care about are Bulma's mother and father, since they are her parents, and you because you're half Saiyan, and I guess your blasted mother as well because she's your mother and Kakarot's mate. Gohan couldn't believe what he was hearing. He had known Vegeta for 5 years, and he would never have expected this to come out of the prince's mouth. Vegeta was supposed to be too proud, too arrogant, too focused on himself to care about anyone else. He could understand Vegeta caring about Bulma and his son, but he had just said he cared about him and his mom. His dad was right to spare Vegeta's life all those years back. Gohan had known that for a while now. He had started to know that when Vegeta had fought alongside him, Krillin, and Piccolo against Frieza. But this was different. This was complete undeniable proof that Goku, his father, had made the right decision. So do you see now, Gohan? In order to keep this planet safe, which is our responsibility as the strongest on this planet, which is what your father wants you to do, you have to become stronger, by fighting, by training with me specifically. We are the only Super Saiyans left. We are the only ones who can push each other to new levels, new heights of unimaginable power. And so we will train together. Gohan knew Vegeta was completely right. It'd be selfish of him not to fight or train anymore, just so he could try to live a normal peaceful life. In the end, that peace would likely be disrupted and everyone would die, and it'd be his fault for not having trained. He was the strongest person on this planet, and it was his responsibility to get as strong as he possibly could to protect it against any threat. That's what his father would do, and so that's what he was going to do. Gohan grinned. We will fight. Vegeta nodded approvingly and grinned as well. We will fight. 2 months later. Damn, I just missed the brat. Smoke and dust were settling, a minute ago dirt having been spewed into the air by the force of Vegeta's destructive Kai blast. He was floating a kilometer up in the air, gazing at the wreckage. A figure emerged from the mushroom cloud hundreds of meters away from him. Vegeta, cool it. We're not supposed to be destroying the forest. You know we only use Kai blasts like that in the desert. Vegeta smirked. I do as I please. Just as he finished that statement he felt all the breath in his body leave him, Gohan's all-too-familiar fist planted into his stomach. Not while I'm around. Gohan gave Vegeta a sly smile, to his great irritation. An uppercut to the jaw sent Vegeta reeling. He tried to use his Kai to steady his body, only to feel a crushing grip on his ankle. Gohan swung him down hard, hurling Vegeta to the ground. Vegeta, unable to stop his descent, drilled through rock, his spine feeling as if it were being broken apart and his brain rattling in his skull. Once he stopped, his body now deep in a crater, he immediately tried to get up, but he couldn't even make it onto a knee. He coughed up blood as he crumbled back down, his limbs paralyzed in pain. Damn that brat. He's only using his Super Saiyan form and he's kicking my ass. How could he be getting so strong? A month ago, Gohan had finally gained control of the SSJ-2 form and was now able to transform at will. Vegeta, craving a challenge like no other, had demanded that Gohan fight him. He had refused, and so Vegeta had taunted him, taunted his father, and eventually had to taunt his father's death. Vegeta knew that he had gone too far, but it had worked, although several minutes later he would be within an inch of death. The brat at the time had no control over his rage, unlike now. Vegeta finally could sit up. He gingerly floated out of the crater, onto the grass just outside of it, and then fell to his knees. Soon, a figure hovered over him. Guess you lose again, Vegeta. Brat. Never call me that again. Vegeta coughed violently after he said that, his ribs probably broken from the half Saiyan's ferocious punch to the gut not too long ago. Gohan smirked, remembering the first time his father had called Vegeta that, right after he and Gohan emerged from the hyperbolic time chamber and had stuffed themselves silly. Vegeta had looked like he was going to suffer an aneurysm. "You're literally not in the position to make such demands, my groveling prince." Gohan snickered as Vegeta dug his fingers into the dirt. "I swear to God, you little shit, I'm going to surpass you one of these days and then knock some sense into you. You'll bow before your prince and regain some humility. Your new power has gone straight to your head." Vegeta got to one knee and then began to slowly stand up, wincing, his back felt like it was on fire. "I think you've just been a bad influence on me during a particularly impressionable and vulnerable time in my life." Vegeta smirked. "True. You needed it, kid. You were too much like your damn father." It was irritating. Gohan shrugged. They then turned around as Piccolo walked toward them. "Well, it seems Gohan has completed his morning routine of taking your ass to the dry cleaners. Namek, you do realize I could kill you where you stand right now for that comment?" Piccolo scoffed. "Please, in that condition." They exchanged one of many more glares to come that day. "Anyway, Korin gave me 3 senzu beans. So we can have our death battle next week." Gohan and Vegeta licked their lips in anticipation, thrilled by the chance to push their bodies to the limits, pummel each other into oblivion, and flaunt their full power. Although Gohan would not use his second Super Saiyan form, fighting at his full capacity as a Super Saiyan was good enough to make the progress he wanted to make. Gohan gave Vegeta a sideways look. "Looks like you'll be groveling at my feet some more, Vegeta." Vegeta gritted his teeth. "I regret ever offering to train with you, impudent brat. You will pay for every slight you've made against me in due time. I can promise you that." Gohan waved away his words. Sure, Vegeta, believe whatever makes you sleep better at night." Piccolo clenched his hand, not thrilled by his former pupil's new attitude. "Gohan, cut that shit out." "What? Arrogance is a weakness. You've seen that proven time and again by Vegeta." Vegeta shifted his glare to Piccolo. "I will not stand here and be insulted by subordinates. I am leaving." "Hold on, Vegeta. I have to talk with you about something." Piccolo gave Vegeta a serious look. Vegeta was about to object but then grunted as an affirmative. Gohan smirked. "Piccolo, stop overreacting, I'm just messing around. Yeah, it's a new side of me, but I don't actually think the things I say. It's just a bit of fun. The only one having fun is you, brat." "Nonsense, Vegeta. I know deep down you like having someone that can not only physically spar with you and crush you, but also verbally spar with you and crush you all the same." "Ha. Nonsense. You're just child. You're not as clever as you think you are, and when you grow up you'll realize just how foolish the things you've been saying are. I've had to deal with Frieza. Now he could verbally spar as you say." Gohan frowned at that. Piccolo interjected. "Okay, Gohan. But if I start to think otherwise, meaning if I think this runs deeper, I will make sure to let you know." "Sure, Piccolo." "You idiots. Gohan, Piccolo, Vegeta. Fly your butts to my house immediately." Gohan grimaced as he heard his mother scream, not even batting an eyelash at how the scream could be heard from miles away. Poise morphed into terror. Fighting evil Saiyans or lizards composed of the cells of the greatest warriors in the universe amounted to little compared to facing Mom and her treacherous frying pan. "Someday I'm going to have to accidentally use the Dragon Balls to wish that pan away to a far-off galaxy." Gohan waved at Vegeta to accompany him to Doom, and Vegeta reluctantly agreed, but only because he was sure that Kakarot's woman would tell his woman that he had not listened to her. Gohan gave him a smile. "What, brat? What a sight, the prince of all Saiyans, obeying the commands of a mere Earth woman." Vegeta shot a glare at Gohan. "Oh yeah, well what about you? She's my mom for goodness sake. You're just scared. Fuck you." He shot a Kai blast at Gohan's face, only to have Gohan crush it with his hands and shoot Vegeta a cheeky smile. "Can't even beat me with cheap shots." Vegeta grumbled inaudibly about blowing up the earth. "How about you, Piccolo?" Piccolo knowingly glanced at Gohan. "I think I'd rather go to hell and talk makeup with Frieza than go into your house." "Aw come on Piccolo. It can't be that bad." "Sure, kid." The 3 warriors flew off and arrived half a minute later. His mother was talking to someone. Gohan was quite surprised that someone had come to his home since his house was hundreds of miles away from the city. He heard the words forest, so much harm, environment, and the poor animals. "I wonder what's up this time," Gohan thought. The trio walked into the house. Kai smacked them hard on their heads with her pan. "What was that for, Harpy?" Vegeta growled. "You'll find out soon enough. You 3 have made a lot of trouble these last couple of days, and this man right here wants to discuss that." Kai hotly retorted. The trio's gaze shifted from Kai and settled onto a young man in a black suit. The man opened his mouth to speak and was about to say something until the impatient Prince of Saiyans rudely interrupted him. This guy is wasting my time. I'm leaving. Vegeta turned his back to leave, only to be whacked by the frying pan. Damn it, woman. I should take you to court for battery. And what would Bulma do if you did that? Vegeta's glare wilted. He wouldn't have sex, training, and food for a month. Vegeta shuddered at the thought. Gohan and Piccolo chuckled at the Prince of All Saiyans being silenced. Shut up. At least I tried, unlike you cowards, Vegeta muttered. Gohan and Piccolo both blushed at hearing the remark because they knew there was no chance they would step out of line inside Kai Kai's house. Thank you. Now please continue, Mr. McFadden, Kai Kai calmly said. Thank you, Ms. Sun. First, I would like to introduce myself to you three. I am the spokesman of PEMA, People for Moral Animals, an organization meant to protect the moral rights that animals deserve. Gohan raised an eyebrow at the acronym. That's a stretch. Probably could have come up with a better name. Vegeta cackled at that. Moral rights. Hahaha. I didn't know animals have moral rights. What a joke, humans barely have moral rights in my book. Yes, animals have moral rights. After all, they can feel pain. I say that animals should never be harmed. People seem to go around killing animals as if animals had no feelings, but animals know and feel the cruel acts people do to them. Animals aren't mindless robots. Oh, too bad. You know what they say, survival of the fittest, Vegeta pompously replied. That doesn't mean we can hurt animals. Anyway, back to the specific matter at hand. As I was walking by the forest picking flowers and acorns for my collection and petting cute little bunnies. Vegeta howled. Picking flowers and acorns. Ha. This is too good. Run away and play with your dolls, you little bi-curious freak. Kai looked at him. Vegeta. Manners. There's nothing wrong with that. It's his right to do what he likes. Mr. McFadden looked unshaken by Vegeta's insults and continued as if Vegeta had never said anything. Vegeta obviously didn't take this too kindly. As I was saying, while I was enjoying nature, I saw trees being torn apart by energy blasts. I was horrified at the rate the forest was being destroyed, so I knew that I had to find out what was causing such havoc. I looked up at the sky and saw you three, floating in the air fighting. I tried to yell at you monsters, but you couldn't hear me. It probably was the cruel blood of savages pumping through your aroused penises that desensitized you all. Vegeta and Piccolo almost exploded, but Kai kept her glare trained on the three of them. Don't you ever dare talk about my cock, you disgusting freak. Oh, and Piccolo doesn't have a cock. Vegeta snidely remarked. Piccolo blushed and looked down, his feet shuffling a bit. That's it. I'm telling Bulma that you couldn't keep your filthy mouth shut. How dare you say that word around Gohan? Do you think I'm trying to raise some sort of hooligan? Fine, like I care about what you tell the woman. Oh, and by the way, he already says a lot worse. Gohan looked at Vegeta, aghast. Vegeta simply smiled. Payback is a bitch, brat. Kai looked furious. We will discuss this later, alright Gohan. The question was a command. Yes, Mom. Mr. McFadden continued. As I was saying, I stumbled across this house and told Ms. Sun here that if you didn't stop, I would take you three to court. Vegeta snarled, take us to court. He grabbed Mr. McFadden by his collar. I don't think so. I'm sure you remember those Kai blasts. Well, let's say I use those Kai blasts right now. Instead of blasting the forest to smithereens, how about I blast you to hell so that the three-headed goats can fuck you in the ass? The eyes widened in fear. Piccolo sighed. Vegeta, let him go. He surprisingly complied. Thank you. I guess this means you will agree to my wishes, Green Man. No it doesn't, just because I'm green doesn't mean I'm green, if you know what I mean, jelly beans. Piccolo looked at the others to see if they knew what he meant. Piccolo grumbled in frustration. It means that just because my skin color is green, I'm not exactly the greenest guy around. Once again, no one understood. I guess those stand-up comedy classes were useless. Tommy, what a waste of money. I just wanted to be good at something other than fighting. Never mind, dimwits. Let me make this clear to you, Mr. McFadden, if you never bother us again, you can go through the rest of your life without fear of losing your penis and balls. And so if he does bother us again, he'll be just like you, Namek. Piccolo glared at Vegeta. Mr. McFadden's expression quickly became one of fear. He ran out the door, never to be seen again. Stupid tree-hugging hippies. Bulma told me they didn't exist anymore. Gohan said, you need to get out more, Vegeta. Learn some social skills and go, you know, shopping, to comedy clubs, bars. It'll probably help you let off some steam. Sometimes, you're a little too hot-headed. Vegeta scowled at Gohan's remark. Gohan continued, even I know about the environmentalist movement. I support them. I just don't want to go to court for stuff you did. That's what I meant, those green boys. Piccolo childishly pointed out. He felt sheepish when he was ignored. Ha! Environmentalist movement. There won't have to be one if I just blast this stupid planet into oblivion. Like you would even dare do that. You love this planet, don't you, Veggie Burger? Vegeta glared at Gohan. Everyone knew that Vegeta was becoming increasingly fond of the Earth, even if he didn't dare admit it. Don't call me that, brat. Ugh. Gohan snickered at Vegeta's disgust. A few moments later, Gohan saw a brown owl tapping on the window. Gohan opened the window. The owl dropped a letter on the table and then promptly left, flying back to who knows where. Well, first it shat on Mr. McFadden's head. Kai and Piccolo surrounded Gohan, curious to know what the owl had given him, while Vegeta stood by the corner like the badass he was. For the sons, receiving a letter was unusual, and so Gohan was extremely curious. He examined the letter in his hand. The letter had the name Hogwarts printed onto it. He admired the calligraphy and the small crest that he assumed was the crest of Hogwarts, carefully opened the envelope and then read the letter in 2 seconds with his lightning-fast reading skills. His eyes widened at what he read and then looked up at his mother's eyes, his mother concerned by her son's confusion. "What's wrong, Gohan? What does the letter say?" Kai asked. Gohan read the letter aloud to all of them. "You're a wizard. This has to be a joke." "That's the biggest pile of," Vegeta trailed off as Kai fixed her eyes on him. "Weird I've ever heard." Vegeta inwardly smiled triumphantly, Kai apparently appeased. "Ha, I still managed to get in shit. The harpy doesn't know Spanish. And Bulma said my telenovelas were useless. Well, I just showed her." Piccolo seemed lost in his thoughts. Gohan was about to voice his incredulity again when they heard a knock on the door. Kai walked to the door and opened it, not bothering to ask whom it was. A tall man with an odd pointy hat greeted them. He had a long gray beard, silver robes, and circular spectacles. He had an aura of both power and peacefulness, the twinkle in his eyes his most disconcerting feature. "Hello, I am Albus Dumbledore. It's a great pleasure to meet you," he said fluently in Japanese. He extended his hand to Kai. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Dumbledore. My name is Kai. Please, call me Albus." Gohan and Vegeta looked at the old man suspiciously. He certainly appeared strange. "What a lovely home you have, and in the quaintest and most peaceful of locations," he exclaimed enthusiastically. "There's increasingly a dearth of such places in the UK, and I am honestly quite envious of your abode." His words clearly were not mere affectation, but rather genuine. Kai smiled. "Thank you for your kind words, Albus. My son and I love it here. May I know the reason for this visit?" "Of course. I have a message for your son." They both turned toward Gohan. Gohan stepped forward and extended his hand. "It's nice to meet you, Mr. Dumbledore." "The pleasure is mine, Gohan. What brings you all the way to Japan?" "You received a letter, correct?" "Yes, I did. Well, I'm the headmaster of Hogwarts Witchcraft and Wizardry, one of the finest institutions of magic in the world." Vegeta snorted. "What nonsense. Magic. This old fool thinks we're stupid enough to believe that." Dumbledore turned and gave him an unsullied smile. "Ignore him," Piccolo said, and gave Dumbledore a nod. Dumbledore's eyes lingered on Piccolo for a split second more than they usually would. Dumbledore felt he recognized him somehow, but he couldn't ascertain for sure. But the gaze of Piccolo was one of knowledge, understanding. It seemed somehow he knew the veracity of Dumbledore's claims, the existence of magic. Dumbledore could see it in his eyes. He always had a knack for reading people. Vegeta growled but then quieted down. He could tell the Namek genuinely believed this clown for some reason. Gohan's uncertain eyes moved toward Piccolo's eyes. Piccolo returned a nod and then so did Gohan. "So this isn't some joke?" "No, not at all, Gohan. Let me demonstrate." He took a long slim piece of wood from somewhere out of his robe. "This is a wand, my wand in particular. Using this, we can channel our magic and cast spells. Although wandless magic is possible, it is very advanced. It took me several years of relentless practice and frustration to get good at it. Let me give you an example of magic. Do you mind if I use a teacup of yours, Ms. Sun?" "Why, of course not, Albus." She brought him a teacup. With a swift stab of the wand, a hamster replaced the teacup. Everyone, except Piccolo, looked at the hamster in amazement. Their eyes, trained by their incredible fighting speed and experience, were quick enough to spot any of the numerous tricks a performer of magic could do. They thus knew that this was not a trick. The teacup had in fact become a gerbil. Vegeta crossed his arms. "Big deal. So magic exists. There's no use in turning teacups into filthy rodents." "Come on, Vegeta, cut it out. I'm sure magic can do a lot more than just that, right, Headmaster?" Dumbledore laughed. "Absolutely. Magic is limitless. It's a journey for knowledge that never ends." Gohan gave him an excited smile. "I believe you, but before making my decision, I'd like to know why the headmaster of a prestigious British school would come all the way out here to confirm my acceptance." "Of course. This is a special year for admissions at Hogwarts. We will be increasing the incoming class size by about 25%. International students, more precisely, those who do not live in the United Kingdom, will fill these extra spaces. In recent years, we've been pushing to change the way things work at Hogwarts, and this change is one of many that has been implemented in order to solidify Hogwarts' place as one of the top wizarding schools in the world. It is the professors, and admissions hope that this will foster greater cross-cultural cooperation and tolerance, which are both sorely lacking in the magical world, more so than even in the non-magical world. Whether this change will continue to be implemented in subsequent years is based on how it works this year, but we are all determined to make it work. As part of underlining our commitment to international students, I have taken it upon myself to personally confirm their acceptances to Hogwarts. Gohan grinned. That's good enough for me. Headmaster, I enthusiastically accept your offer to enroll at Hogwarts. Dumbledore looked extremely pleased. Excellent. Now just read over the supplies you need and one of the professors will come over to your house in a few weeks and take you to Diagon Alley so you can buy your supplies. I have to get going now. I am extremely busy today. Farewell. I will see you soon. Dumbledore disappeared. Where did that old man go? How did he do that? Vegeta asked, irritated. Magic. Gohan smirked and Vegeta scowled. Reddish hues colored the soft sky as the sun's rays crept away. Piccolo mused over the events of the day, to his side Vegeta flying with him. Piccolo had been expecting this day ever since he merged with Kami a few months ago. Being one with Kami gave him power beyond measure, but also deep wisdom and vast knowledge. He learned a lot of things he hadn't known, one of them being the existence of the wizarding world. He learned magic, particularly charms and transfiguration as those were the areas what Kami was best at. He learned of various places in the magical world itself, as Kami had often ventured, cloaked, around in this world, meeting various people and learning many things. Piccolo learned the history of this world and the recent rise to power of the evil wizard Voldemort. And he learned of Gohan's innate magical power, burgeoning within him, before Gohan himself was made aware of it today. He had known this was coming, and he recognized how momentous of a moment this was, because Gohan had a power like no other person in recent history, a power that had two sides to it, one Kai the other magic. His potential in both was unimaginable. Now he had the opportunity to realize his potential and revolutionize both the wizarding and non-wizarding world. But he was uncertain and worried about his former pupil. It was more than just Gohan's change in personality. He had a gut feeling that something could go very wrong. After they had flown far enough, they stopped. So, Namek, what do you want? I want to talk about how Gohan has been acting recently. What about it? He's just being a brat. You know that's not it. Gohan was nothing like this before. Oh well, I don't know, maybe a battle with Cell and the death of your father would have some effect on an 11-year-old, or is that a bit of stretch? Piccolo remained calm, despite Vegeta's sarcasm usually being immensely irritating to him. Yes, of course it would Vegeta. I know that. And I'm sure you've had some influence on him these past few months as well, given that you're the only adult Saiyan left. He looks up to you. He's become more accepting of the Saiyan in him. All these things have contributed to that. But I'm not convinced that's all there is to it. You being a Saiyan, I thought you'd have some other ideas. He still is the Gohan I've always known, but at times it's clear that he now has an entirely different side to him, and I'm not sure exactly what it means for his development into adulthood. Vegeta looked down at the ground hundreds of meters away for a few seconds and then settled his gaze on Piccolo's. Admittedly, I have put some thought to it. He paused for a few moments. The first time I became a Super Saiyan I felt some of the things I had expected to feel. My power increased massively, I felt an unprecedented exhilaration and I felt so alive, my senses magnified tenfold. But there was more to it than just that. I felt the slightest of shifts in my being, who I was. It's difficult to explain, but I felt almost as if I had returned to who I was before I came to this planet. Unassailable confidence and pride, that's what I felt, which was a natural result of finally reaching the legendary form, but it also was an innate part of the form. I regained my full understanding of what being a Saiyan was, but at the same time I felt elevated, almost like a more sophisticated, transcended version of my base form self. I remember talking to Kakarot about the form. He asked me a few days before the fight with Cell how I felt when I first became a Super Saiyan. I told him what I've told you, and he said that that was how he felt, but to him it was slightly harder to control, to prevent it from making him arrogant and overconfident. He learned of another side of him that he had never truly known that day against Frieza, and he enjoyed the feeling. It was the Saiyan in him. He finally experienced it. After some time, we both reverted back to feeling like we did in our base form while in the ascended state, as we gained better control over the form. Now think about Gohan. He's only a child. Before Cell, he acted even less like a Saiyan than his father did. I have no idea how being in the second form of Super Saiyan feels, but judging from how drastically different he acted when he fought Cell in this form, I can surmise that it's a greatly augmented feeling of being a Super Saiyan. He's about to reach the age when he will start becoming a man, and he has already reached the second form. I wouldn't be surprised if he is not controlling his new ascended state given his experience and age, but rather his ascended state is beginning to change him, seep into his personality. Exactly how much he will change is anyone's guess, but all I know is it's his responsibility to learn to control his form, to figure out the person he wants to become. Personally, I think he'll be fine, just different than the man he would have otherwise become. Piccolo mused on Vegeta's words. That sounds reasonable. I suggest we both keep an eye on him, though. He saved all our lives. I think the least we can do is give him guidance. I agree, Namek. Is that all you got, Vegeta? I'm not even trying anymore. I'm just cooling down. Damn you, brat. Vegeta hurled himself to strike Gohan, only to end up punching the air. Soon after he felt Gohan's knee drive into his back, now aflame with pain. Gohan raised his hands overhead and struck his back again, sending him crashing toward the ground. Gohan mulled for a split second on whether to shoot a Kai blast. Vegeta could take it, he decided, and he wasn't sure if he'd stay down with just his previous attack, so he ended up shooting a massive Kai blast. Blue light, bright and blinding, soon enshrouded everything. As the light faded, Gohan began to count. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 8 and a half, 9 9 and a half 9 and 3/4 10. KO. Here is your winner of this three-way battle, the savvy, suave, strong Son Gohan. Your losers the hot-headed Vegeta and the green and growling Piccolo. Give them a round of applause everyone. They deserve it for lasting a bit longer today, against your beloved hero. I would like to thank my mom for this victory, my. Oh shut your damn yapping brat. Gohan smirked. He knew Vegeta hated being teased by anyone, especially a half-breed like himself. Gohan, I liked you better when you were whiny baby instead of a cheeky smartass, Piccolo remarked. You guys are just bitter that I whooped your ass. Gohan laughed. Vegeta mumbled something about not remembering Gohan having whooped his ass. That's because I knocked some screws loose in that big head of yours. Oh, you're going to pay one day, half-breed. I promise you. You've been saying that for months. It's getting boring, Vegeta. Piccolo grunted. Enough of this. I have something to give you Gohan for your stay at Hogwarts. What is it, Piccolo? Piccolo floated over to Gohan with something in his hand, a spherical object covered by a violet veil. Piccolo took off the veil. He held an object similar to Baba's ball. This ball was created by Den at my request. What I wanted was a ball that you could use to see any person you need advice from while you are at Hogwarts, so that you can speak to them. Unfortunately, Den being Den, he made the ball only allow you to talk to Vegeta for consoling. And I mean it when I say consoling. It checks your emotional state to see how you feel. If you have some issue that's bothering you, making you sad or insecure, you know, typical human teenage issues, then and only then can you talk to Vegeta, and if you don't talk to Vegeta, well, Den said some embarrassing things could possibly happen to the both of you. It gives you about a week to 2 of time before the consequences of not talking to him arise, so if you feel fine soon enough, you don't have to talk to Vegeta. What? I have to console this ungrateful brat. Oh Veggiehead. We get to be best friends forever. Ugh, what a revolting invention, give me that. He tried to swipe the ball, but Piccolo stopped him. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Vegeta. Den told Bulma about it. She thinks it's a great idea because you'll be able to both help Gohan and, in her words, improve his terrible fatherly skills in order to properly raise Trunks. Vegeta regretted ever coming to this planet as he sighed in defeat. Don't worry, Vegeta. I'm a pretty down-to-earth happy kid. I'm sure I'll hardly ever have to use it. Kid, a Saiyan going through puberty is one hell of a fucking ride, especially without a father. You don't know what you're talking about, Vegeta said. Well I guess we'll just have to wait and see, Gohan said, not sure what to make of Vegeta's words. I think I'll name it the Magic Veggie Ball, MVP for short. Stupid brat, Vegeta hissed, crossed his arms, closed his eyes, looked away, and finally huffed. Trademark that shit, Piccolo muttered. I already have. You're bigger douche than I thought. That's what your mom said to you. Great comeback, you idiot. Excuse me for not being my usual brilliant self as I wallow in dejection because of this bullshit I've gotten myself into. Does he really think I'll be that bad? Oh, and what a sadist Den is. I have to talk to Vegeta whenever I feel really sad for more than a week. It checks my emotional state. What dark magic is he wielding? Gohan thought. Gohan. A professor from Hogwarts is here to take you shopping for your materials. Kai's voice reaching all the way to the very depths of the wilderness. And Kami, but not Dend, actually fuck Dend. Oops, I shouldn't have said that. Mom would have been furious if she heard me say that aloud. Coming mom. Bye guys, I've got to go. Tomorrow, here, 8 o'clock sharp. No slacking off. You know who said, as spirited as he usually was, having seemingly already accepted his MVP fate. Eager to get your ass handed to you, aren't you, Vegeta? More like I'm eager to mop the floor with you. I didn't know you were the maid of the household. Now I know where those rough hands come from. Vegeta shot him another glare and mumbled disrespectful brat to himself. Gohan managed to hear, and it was music to his ears, as it represented another victory in the battle of words against the prince. Vegeta flew away, without a second glance. "By my new BFF." Piccolo gave Gohan a stern look. "By the way, Gohan, be careful around those wizards. You can't let them know about your powers. You may not mention anyone who is in our group, ever. I'm sure there'd be someone smart enough at that school to connect the dots and figure out who you truly are if you reveal too much about yourself. That endangers not only you but also everyone else you know at Hogwarts and back home." Gohan had known Piccolo was going to warn him. Gohan felt this was the worst part about going to Hogwarts, hiding nearly everything about himself from everyone. He sure wasn't looking forward to that part. They said their goodbyes. Gohan flew home, excited about embarking on the beginning of his new adventure. He entered his home and saw an extraordinarily tall, the tallest man he'd ever seen by far, and scruffy man. He had an unkempt overgrown beard and long shabby hair. He'd be intimidating if he didn't have such a bright friendly smile on his face. "Ah, Gohan. I were just talking to ya mother over here. Name's Hagrid." He extended his hand to Gohan. Gohan smiled and shook his hand. Hagrid was speaking in English, unlike Dumbledore, who spoke Japanese to them, expertly and with barely an accent. Many of his friends had a good grasp on English. The Sons and Brief spoke it perfectly, Vegeta included. Vegeta excelled at learning languages. He said he picked up a skill being an ambassador for Frieza. "Gohan, I told Bulma about your acceptance to Hogwarts. She was skeptical at first, but I managed to convince her that it was not a scam. Anyway, she gave you money to buy your items." Gohan's eyes widened. He then shot his eyes down, looking at his shuffling feet. "It's okay, Gohan. She's your godmother and she loves you very much. She did this because she cares about you and our family." Gohan smiled. "Tell Bulma I'm extremely grateful." Kai looked pleased. "Sure, honey. Hagrid, thank you for the pleasant conversation. You're a real charmer." Hagrid blushed at her compliment. "You're welcome, Miss Sun. Well, Gohan, time to get moving, I need something done too. Bye, Miss Sun." "Bye, Hagrid. Be good, Gohan." Gohan nodded and said bye to his mother. Gohan and Hagrid walked out of the house to prepare for their departure. "Hold on tight, Gohan. We're taking a portkey to Diagon Alley." "The portkey?" "The magical object that transports you to your destined location." Hagrid showed him a pink sock. "It's just a pink sock. How is a pink sock going to do that?" "It's a portkey. It's just a pink sock. Just grab onto me, Gohan, and you'll see." Gohan obeyed. His stomach flipped upside down and turned inside out. He held back the urge to vomit. He landed with a thud and opened his eyes to the magical world. Awesome, he thought as he examined the architecture of Diagon Alley. Truthfully, it wasn't mightily impressive, but this place felt so different from his rustic life back home and the flashy city life in any of Japan's major cities. That did not feel good at all. "Yup, the first time is pretty rough. Don't worry, it'll get better when ya get used to it." They began to walk. "Gohan, we need to exchange the money ya have for wizarding money, so come here and follow me to Gringotts Bank." Gohan nodded and they walked toward their destination, while Hagrid explained to him the wizarding money system. On entering Gringotts, Gohan was startled at the sight of the creatures with large heads and long thin fingers. They all looked peeved. "Are those goblins?" "Yes, sire. They're nasty creatures who always wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Wizarding relations with goblins aren't too good, so they won't take too kindly toward you. Try to be respectful and don't get 'em angry. You don't want 'em angry." Things went smoothly for Gohan and he got his money. 1,000,000 galleons. That's loads of money. "Yeah, my godmother is filthy rich, so this is nothing to her. Anyway, Hagrid, I think I'd like to do a little bit of exploring. I'm extremely curious about Diagon Alley and I'd like to take it all in. Would you mind if I went shopping alone?" "Certainly not, Gohan. I need to get some things done anyway. I'm going to Nocturne Alley, but don't you dare go there." "Okay, Hagrid. I would never do anything like that," Gohan said coyly. "Good. We'll meet here at 3:10, Hagrid said, Gohan's sarcasm apparently evading him. Hagrid left, leaving Gohan alone to confront this exciting magical world. After exploring a bit, his stomach started to growl, and so he decided to go look for some food. "Florian Fortescue's Ice Cream Parlor, the best ice cream magic can make," Gohan said, reading aloud the ice cream parlor's sign. It was a small store with a few outdoor tables. Gohan went up to the service counter and read the floating menu. The banana split caught his eye, so like any normal person with a sugar craving, he ordered 10 of them. The young woman attending customers stared at him as if he had just grown a unicorn horn. You're ordering for a group, right kid? Gohan shook his head. Why do you ask? Isn't that a lot for one person? Nah, maybe for you but for certain people, this is normal. Maybe you haven't noticed. Get out of the UK for a bit and you'll begin to see more of that. Gohan couldn't help but be silly and mess around with her. He wasn't about to give out free brochures on Saiyan secrets. Gohan turned around, 10 banana splits in hand, stomach growling impatiently, only to be shocked when he saw that all the previously empty benches were now completely occupied. What the hell? I have a feeling this is one of Den's evil plans again. If this turns out bad, Den will have some explaining to do. If he can't explain, his life will be several years shorter than Kami's. He looked for any space. After a few seconds, Gohan noticed an empty bench at a table occupied by a small raven-haired girl. Gohan shrugged his shoulders and sat down at the table. The girl glanced at him and was about to say something until she realized that all the tables were packed. She resumed eating her sundae and didn't say a word. Gohan inconspicuously observed the young girl. Gohan had a feeling she was a first year like him. Her black hair was slightly longer than shoulder length and they were curled into pigtails with 2 bronze-colored bands holding them. Her eyes were blue and naturally prideful. Gohan was bored at just looking at her, so he decided to start a conversation. What were you going to say? Well, she was about to say something, so I guess that's the best way to start. To get the hell out of my table. I guess that wasn't how I should have started the conversation. Maybe I really shouldn't have been homeschooled. I already got her angry. Now that wouldn't have been nice. Like I care. Videl glared back at him briefly, fed, and then looked away to continue eating her sundae. Never mind, she's just a bitch. What the hell is her problem? It's like she's already pmsing. Calm down. I just want to talk to someone, Gohan told her. She didn't even look up at him. He sighed, clearly he wasn't the best at getting someone out of their shell, nor was he any good at starting a conversation. He didn't feel hungry anymore and threw away the other 9 sundaes. I'm surprised she didn't notice all the sundaes I had. He felt he was missing out on something about her. He could have sworn he had seen her before. Where have I seen her before? He tried to recall. Loathing ebbed within him as he slowly began to remember. In the newspaper after the Cell Games. She was that imposter Hercule's daughter and she was in the picture standing next to him during the parade. What was her name? Viper, Vicky, Vicious. It's got to be Vicious, I mean just look at her. Gohan mentally chuckled. Vile, Viden, Vipple, Videl. That's it. Clearly your father hasn't taught you proper etiquette. I would have thought that the supposedly great Hercule, being the incredible world martial arts champion he is, would have taught his daughter some manners for all those fancy dinners he's bound to be invited to Videl. Gohan was pleased when Videl's eyes shot up at him, even if she looked like strangling him. How the hell do you know who I am? Videl practically screamed at him. Jill, I saw you in a photo in the newspaper after the Cell Games with your buffoon father. Thanks Krillin for teaching me the word chill. I must have sounded pretty, chill. Videl slapped him hard. Cold as ice, Gohan stared her down. She seemed unaffected by his death glare. How dare you insult my father? What secrets of his do you think you have that allow you to question my father's undisputed martial arts ability? Don't say you didn't say that because I know that is exactly what you implied with your sarcasm. Sorry, but I don't answer spoiled brats' questions. I'm a brat. You're just a jealous jerk. Go be an asshole somewhere else. Gladly. Gohan gave her a sneer that would make Vegeta proud. He threw away the last of his 10 sundaes and quickly left the fiery raven-haired girl. Even worse than her father. Just as stuck up but lacking the social skills and she can't control her damn temper. Gohan chose to forget her, hoping that he would never have to go through the agony of talking to her again. He looked at his list and decided to go buy his books. Along the way, Gohan cursed Den for making him meet her. If he had never met her, Gohan would have done his ears a favor and his stomach would have been filled with 9 1/2 more sundaes. Gohan entered a dark wooden store known as Flourish and Blots, an amusing name to Gohan. He delved deeper into the store and saw a huge crowd of people surrounding a blonde wizard with a dazzling smile. Gohan walked toward the crowd, curious about what the ruckus was about. To display my limitless benevolence, I will give Harry Potter here my entire set of autographed books for free. The crowd cheered and chanted Gilderoy Lockhart. People savagely shoved each other, everyone wanting to take a picture of Gilderoy Lockhart and Harry Potter. Gohan ignored the crowd and examined this Harry Potter. Harry was a lanky boy with dark messy hair, emerald eyes, and an odd lightning bolt scar on his forehead. Gohan looked toward Lockhart and he instantly decided that he didn't like him. Lockhart had an annoyingly invariable smile pasted on his face and seemed cavalier and haughty. Gohan also found it hilarious that Lockhart didn't notice Harry's forced smile. Gohan knew that Harry wanted to be as far away from Lockhart as possible. Congratulations, Harry boy. You're almost as popular me. Keep working hard and you might become just as great, Lockhart exclaimed. Gohan saw Harry grimace at the possibility, making Gohan snicker. Admittedly, Gohan wasn't sure why Harry had such a poor opinion of Lockhart's magical talent. After all, he seemed popular with the wizarding world, which might have meant that he was a good wizard. Gohan mused on and decided that Lockhart was obviously an airhead, and Harry probably hated him for that sole reason as much as he already did. Popularity also didn't necessarily mean it was deserved. Hercule was a living breathing example of that. Gohan approached Harry once the spectacle ended and the crowd dissipated. Something about Harry interested him. Hey Harry. I'm Gohan. I just wanted to let you know how lucky you are to have met the great Gilderoy Lockhart. That ecstatic smile of yours told the whole story. Harry grinned at Gohan. I bet it was a real beauty, eh? One of my best. His stunning smile rubbed off on you. What an inspiring guy. More than inspiring, he's a living legend. There will be endless songs and stories forever venerating his dazzling white smile, his gorgeous golden locks of hair, his courage and valor, and of course, most important, his eternal vanity and undisputed title as the greatest narcissist our world has ever known. They both laughed. Quite the eloquent chap you are. I'm so glad someone else can't see how self-absorbed he is. I thought I was the only one. You're not alone. It's a bad sign when I haven't even met guy and I've only been in his presence for a few seconds and yet I already hate him. Yeah, he's full of himself. I think he was trying to use me to make himself even more popular. By the way, I've never seen you before. Are you a first year? Yup, I'm a first year. Harry looked confused. What's wrong? Well, usually most wizards who see me always babble on and on about how it's a pleasure to finally meet Harry Potter, it's an honor, can I have an autograph, and so on. It gets tiresome after a while. I'm assuming you're a muggle born because your reaction is different. Muggle born? Muggles are non-magical people. So a muggle born is person whose parents can't do magic, but their child can do magic. Yeah, I am. So you're famous. Pretty crazy at your age. What did you do? Something heroic. I'm not really sure if it was heroic. I was only a baby when the most powerful dark wizard, Voldemort, tried to kill me with a spell. Harry paused and was surprised to see Gohan look at him impassively. Most people's eyes would be wide open. The most powerful dark wizard in the entire world after a baby is usually something that would get a person. Harry shook it off and continued. I somehow reflected it, killing him with his own spell. I was only a baby, so I didn't know what I was doing. I find it hard to believe that I was heroic. I think it was more of a case of luck than heroism. And that also doesn't mean I'm automatically a wizard with great power just because of that event, which a lot of people assume. Harry didn't know why, but he felt like he could trust Gohan despite having just met him. Gohan easily emphasized with Harry. His experience with Raditz flashed through his mind. I understand what you mean, Harry, because a similar thing happened to me, although without the dark wizard part and all the fame that you've had to deal with. I had no control over myself when I did it. Unfortunately, we can't really do anything about what people think about us now. You just have to ignore what people say about you, pretend like you're not famous, and work hard to become the best you possibly can be. Harry grinned at Gohan. That makes a lot of sense. That's probably the best piece of advice I've been given in quite a while. Thanks Gohan. You're welcome Harry. I don't have much time left and I need to find my books, so I got to get going. I hope to see you on the train in 3 days. Feel free to sit with my friends and me if you want to. Great. I'll try to find you guys on the train. See ya. While searching for his books, he thought about Harry. Harry seemed like a nice enough guy and kind of reminded Gohan of himself. They both had the burden of grand expectations placed on them, but Harry was famous for what he did, while in Gohan's case, no one besides his friends and family knew about his accomplishments. Gohan slowly got off the subject of Harry and dedicated himself to quickly finding his school books. After finding them, he scanned the store for any useful, more advanced books. Gohan was thirsty for knowledge so that he could quickly excel as a wizard and become powerful. He picked out several books ranging from wandless magic to becoming an animagus. He did not look at the price tags. Money was not an issue, Bulma having made sure of that. Gohan had no idea what he was going to do with all the money he had throughout his next several years in the wizarding world. Gohan collected all his books and shoved them at the clerk. The old woman looked irritated by Gohan's impolite action, but Gohan either didn't notice her fuming or just didn't care. She gave him the books and he gave her the money. He stored all his materials in a capsule from Capsule Corporation. He had plenty of those too. He had one place left to go to Ollivander's Wands. He hurried toward the store, excited about finally getting the object that would make the seemingly impossible possible. Gohan took no notice of the shop's appearance and rushed in. An elderly man with frizzy gray hair greeted him. "Hello, sir. I'm here looking for my wand. I'm Gohin's son. I am Garrick Ollivander. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. How do you know my name?" "Well, Gohin, I've been expecting you. Dumbledore has said lot about you." "What did Dumbledore tell you? What could have he told him?" "I told him nothing about myself." Mr. Ollivander stared into Gohin's eyes as if he were studying him, looking for something. "Dumbledore simply told me he had a feeling you were special." He couldn't put a finger exactly on what it was that made him feel that way, but he could tell. Gohin knew that that wasn't the extent of Dumbledore and Ollivander's discussion. He didn't want anyone to know about his secrets, at least not anytime soon, including Dumbledore, so he promised himself to be careful at Hogwarts. Gohin looked back up at Ollivander. "Well, I'm not sure if I'm special, but I'd like to choose a wand." "Oh yes, of course, but know that you don't choose the wand chooses you. Now let me make the proper measurements." Ollivander measured Gohin from all angles Gohin didn't even know could be measured. "I'll go get you a wand and you can try it out." Gohin tried out several wands, none of them suiting him, most of his attempts resulting in a small puff of smoke or a flicker of light. Once, Gohin accidentally blasted through the floor. Gohin winced. "Sorry about that." Ollivander chuckled. "It's okay. It's happened enough times to not be much of a shock. I've got good insurance for that. Premiums have been increasing these days, though. Anyway, I'm quite surprised that I still haven't found a wand for you. Then again, maybe I should remember Dumbledore's words. You are unique. Maybe you need a unique wand. Don't despair. This might be the one." Ollivander went to the back of the store to get a wand. When Ollivander came back, he showed Gohin a dark silver wand, demonstrating all its intricacies, and then handed it to him. Immediately a warmth filled Gohin, as if a magical connection had just been established between the wand and him. He felt a tug, a desire of the wand to be one, as odd as that may sound. He felt a well of power waiting to be harnessed between the wand and him. He gave it a flick, and a beautiful blue sphere emerged. "This is my wand." "Interesting. I never expected anyone to ever be able to use this wand. Its origin is unknown, as is its material. An old friend of mine bought it from a street merchant in Russia. It's a quality wand, about 11¼ inches. I've waited for the day for see someone wield it proficiently. I hope to hear back from you in the near future, as I am very curious to see how it works out for you." Gohin smiled. "Definitely." He thanked Mr. Ollivander and said his goodbye, off to find Hagrid and go back home. "Yeah right. I won't fall for that one, Gohin." Lime exclaimed and then followed her words up with a scoff. "I'm not lying, Lime. Why would I lie to you about this?" Lime looked thoughtful. "I don't know. Well, maybe because you've been all mean all of a sudden these last few weeks. You like making fun of me now for some reason, just like all those jerk boys at school." Gohin chuckled. "It's not funny." "It is, but I'm not making fun of you." "Yes you are." "Nah, just messing with you." "Same thing." "No, it's not." "Yes it is." Gohin sighed. "Whatever, you win. You're completely right, as you always are. I am really truly utterly sorry." "Uh-huh. Sure. Meanie." She crossed her arms and looked away from him. "Hey, Lime, come on. Please. This is serious. I promise you, I am not lying about this." "Pinky promise?" She looked at him suspiciously. "Pinky promise?" Once their pinkies interlocked, her eyes widened. "So magic is real?" "Yeah, it is. The headmaster came to my house to tell me about my acceptance and he turned a teacup into a hamster." She clapped her hands in delight. "I love hamsters. I want to learn magic too. Can you teach me that, along with flying, when you come back for the holidays?" Gohin shook his head. "No can do." She frowned. "Why not?" "I have no way of being able to tell if you can do magic. Only some people are capable of it. You're just born that way. And even if you can do magic, I wouldn't be able to teach you because it's illegal for anyone under the age of 17 to use magic outside of school." "Illegal in what country?" "There's this secret government that governs the wizarding world. They set the laws." "Oh, but if that's illegal, then what about you telling me about magic being real?" That might be illegal, but it's fine. They have no way of finding out what I say, unlike me using magic outside of school. Just keep quiet about it." "I will." Lime let out a drawn-out, despaired sigh. "So I have to wait another year to see if some school sends me a letter like yours?" "Yeah, basically." "Darn, I can't wait that long to know." "Well, don't get your hopes up. Percentage-wise, there's very few people who can do magic." "I won't. I just want to know now." Gohin then told her about his trip to Diagon Alley. Lime listened, fascinated, a bit envious of her friend, as she would have loved to explore such an incredible world. "Can I see your wand?" He showed her his wand. "It looks pretty cool, Gohin." Gohan let her hold it and she played around for a few minutes with him, pretending she was a witch and he some evildoer. "You're so lucky you're a wizard." Gohan smiled. "Yeah, I know. I'm really excited." It was starting to get dark. "I'm going to get going now, Lime." "Okay. I'm going to miss you a ton. I'm really excited for you, though, and I'm sure you're going to have a ton of fun. I can't wait to hear all your stories when you come back." "Thanks, Lime. I'm going to miss you too. I won't forget you, I'll make sure to see you as soon as possible when I come back home." "You better or you'll be in big trouble, Mr. Wizard." Nothing could ever tame a Saiyan's hair. That was a lesson Kai refused to learn, her futile attempt serving no purpose but to frustrate her and her son as she remained doggedly determined to do it. She had done it before when Gohan was a young boy journeying to Namek with Krillin and Bulma, and she believed she'd soon do it again, although it was far more difficult this time for some reason. After a few more minutes, Gohan spoke up. "Mom, can you please stop? Hagrid will be here any minute now." "Oh, alright." She looked disappointed, having finally accepted defeat. "I'm going go wash this gunk out of my hair." As Gohan headed toward his room, Kai sighed. She was going to miss her son dearly. He was all she had left. Memories of the first time her husband died and Gohan was taken away from her came rushing back. She fought back tears, determined to be strong as this was Gohan's big day. She knew her dreams of him becoming a scholar, at least in the non-magical world, were highly unlikely to be realized now, Gohan having told her himself that that was not what he wanted to do and that such an occupation would not give him enough time to train. At first, she rebuked him, outraged that he was going to throw away all his years of persistent studying in order to become some unemployed meathead. But then Gohan told her he did want to get something that resembled a job, but he wasn't sure what it was yet, as he had yet to fully learn about the wizarding world and all its opportunities. She could tell how much this meant to him, doing something he liked and becoming powerful enough to protect the earth from any possible threat. She would not hold him back with her own wishes. This is what he wanted and it shouldn't have surprised her. This was the son of Goku, after all, and he was a hero at heart just like his father was. "Mom, what's wrong?" Gohan asked, snapping Kai out of her thoughts. Seeing the concerned face on her son, she gave him a reassuring smile. "I'm just going to miss you, Gohan, that's all." "I'm going to miss you too, Mom." He gave her a hug that made Gohan's departure a tad easier to handle for the two. "How about you, son? Worried at all?" Gohan frowned slightly. "Yes. He never had a problem confiding in his mom. I'm not sure if the kids at school will like me. I don't really know how to act around other kids since I've been homeschooled for so long and I've just been around adults all my life." "Gohan, there's no need to worry. You're like your father. People can't help but like you. Just be yourself. And besides, you already have a friend that's a kid, Lime." Gohan smiled. "That's true. Thanks, Mom." "Of course, sweetie." Hagrid arrived and it was time for Gohan to leave. As Gohan left home, he waved his final goodbyes to his mother. Boy was he sure going to miss her. "Bye Mom. See you during the holidays." Kai waved back at him, her eyes gleaming with pride. "Bye Gohan. Be a good boy. Make sure to study hard too." "Hey Mom." Hagrid smiled warmly, as it always touched him whenever he saw such love between mother and son, something Hagrid himself had never experienced personally, his own mother having abandoned him in order to rejoin her clan of giants. Once the goodbyes were out of the way and Gohan turned around to look at Hagrid, he gave him an excited smile. "Well, let's get going Hagrid. What are you waiting for?" Hagrid smiled at Gohan. "Ah Gohan, you're excited aren't you?" "Oh really, Captain Obvious? Someone is a tease. I just want to finally begin my adventure." "That's great to hear. Ready for the next best 7 years of your life?" "Oh yeah. Then touch this thing." What Gohan saw when he looked down at Hagrid's hand completely startled him. He then proceeded to raise an eyebrow and examine the item for a few seconds, ultimately deciding to direct a bemused expression to Hagrid's increasingly embarrassed face. 34D, not bad. Who's the lucky gal? Well, Trunks did tell me 34D is a good size. He said his ideal was 34DD, though. Not sure exactly how realistic that is. Well you see it's not a lady friend of mine, rather I sort of stole Professor McGonagall's bra when I was drunk during one of the Hogwarts professor parties. Wait, no. I just found it conveniently lying outside my hut. I didn't sneak into the professor's quarters undetected and steal her bra." Gohan looked at Hagrid skeptically. Well then, how about we get going to the King Cross station?" Hagrid nodded, happy to not delve any deeper into the conversation. "By the way, don't mention this to anyone. If this gets out, who knows what McGonagall would do to me." Hagrid shuddered as a possibility crossed his mind. The last time McGonagall was utterly livid, well, let's say the poor guy was in a coma for a year and coincidentally lost his children-bearing powers. McGonagall said she had nothing to do with the latter, but of course, anyone with half a brain knew that was far from the truth. Then again, Dumbledore absolutely believed her and Hagrid was pretty sure that Dumbledore wasn't missing any of his brain. At least that's what he thought. Gohan looked at him innocently enough. So it is this McGonagall lady. Oh, whatever are you talking about, Hagrid? You know darn well what I'm talking about, Gohan. Hagrid gruffly replied. Whatever it is, I'm sure it can't slip out because I am completely oblivious to what you're talking about. Now if a situation presents itself that makes it advantageous for me to remember this little thing, well, that would be an entirely different matter altogether. It might slip out unless I get some favors in return. Gohan smirked. Hagrid glared at the sadist and affirmed that Gohan was one evil boy. Realizing he had no way out, he got onto his knees and pleaded. Please. I'll do anything. Gohan was taking a sadistic pleasure in this. I think I should do this more often. It's also cool having someone kneel before you. No wonder Vegeta likes being a prince so much. When I ask for a favor, you will immediately comply with my demands, or that little piece of information that I can't seem to recall will slip out on the same day you refuse my demands, as I just might coincidentally remember that little piece of embarrassing information, Gohan drawled. Hagrid firmly nodded. Anything. I'll do it. He wiped the sweat off his forehead, now that the matter was settled. He couldn't believe he had just been blackmailed by a first year. This kid was something else. Now since that's been cleared up, let's go to the station. Come on. Gohan touched the pink nut Professor McGonagall's bra. Gohan cringed a little and reluctantly touched it. He would make sure to immediately wash his hand. He had no idea who this Professor McGonagall was, but if he had to place any bets, he'd bet she was old and wrinkly. They disappeared and reappeared at the station. Gohan still wasn't used to the unorthodox form of travel and got up somewhat dazed. He picked himself up. I have to get going for some important business. See you later, Gohan. Hagrid waved and then trotted off. See you later, teddy bear Hagrid. Gohan cheered. His enhanced Saiyan hearing allowed him to hear Hagrid grumble something about cruel wicked kids these days. Gohan just chuckled at that. And it's just the beginning. This sure is fun. Gohan walked past the different stations while looking at his paper. Platform 9 3/4. Isn't that odd? He walked past platform 9 and 10. He furrowed his brow. Maybe all of this really was an elaborate hoax. Immediately after saying that, he saw a couple and two children with their trunks run straight through platform 9 and 10's pillar, startling Gohan. That's pretty weird. Guess I have to do that too. Hey, at least I'm carrying my stuff around in capsules. Well, here goes nothing. Gohan jogged at the pillar, half expecting his forehead to crack the stone, but instead felt nothing. His ears shot up at the sound of loud chatter and he opened his eyes to meet the sight of children and parents saying their goodbyes. Pleased, he decided to get onto the large and red train. He strolled through the long corridor, looking for his new friend, Harry Potter. Toward the end of the train, he looked towards his left-hand side to meet the emerald eyes of the boy who lived. Both boys grinned at the sight of each other. Hey Harry. It's been a while since last seeing you. How have you been? Gohan looked at the people around Harry, a girl with bushy hair, 3 Redeed boys, and a Redeed girl, and yeah, I made the compartment really big. Nice to see you made it, Gohan. I've been great. You? I've been awesome. I'm so excited. Harry looked pleased by Gohan's excitement. I see you have some other friends here. Care to introduce them? Gohan looked at each of them with smiling eyes, noticing that when he looked at the Redeed girl a blush crept up her face. The bushy-haired girl complied first. I'm Hermione. Pleased to meet you, Hermione. I'm Gohan. Gohan extended his hand and Hermione gently shook it. The younger looking, compared to the other Redeed boys, Redeed boy then introduced himself. I'm Ron. The twin fireballs then introduced themselves. I'm Fred. I'm George, but some Timishes George. He's Fred. We are the school's. Worst nightmare. Our pranks are unmatched. Gohan chuckled at the twins. He was already sure that they were very funny guys and that's exactly what he needed, a good laugh. Whoa, you missed, huh? We'll see about that. Gohan noticed Hermione's face turn grim and Ron looked at him unbelievingly. Amazing. Someone willing to challenge us. We salute you for your bravery, you stud you. I am greatly honored to receive such praise from you too. Gohan said. He then turned around to look at the Redeed girl, surely related to the 3 other Redeeds. As he gazed at her patiently, her face turned several different shades of red darker and she trained her eyes on the floor. Gohan heard Fred and George snicker. Snap out of it. Dearest sister of ours. You're making us look bad. The twins both looked at her with mock disapproval. Apparently she listened to them and squeaked out, I'm Ginny. She immediately tore her face away from him and looked out the window, her face red as ever. What a strange girl. Where do I remember seeing that type of red coloring creeping up on someone's face? Oh yeah, me right Trunks chick flicks. Gohan rolled his eyes. Fred whispered to Gohan. The only person that gives her willy-nillys like that is Harry. Consider yourself in the club. Gohan chuckled. Well then, maybe I should try to talk to her to get rid of her jitters. Fred looked at him, clearly impressed. Torturing my little sis, huh? I guess that will help her overcome her sudden social ineptitude around you and Harry. Gohan nodded and turned away from Fred. He glanced over to Ginny and saw her quickly tear her gaze from him and turn several different shades of red that Gohan didn't know existed. As his new acquaintances chatted around him, he tried to have a decent conversation with Ginny. Tried is the key word because she would barely open her mouth to say a word. Gohan sighed and turned away as Ginny put her hands on her face and turned away from him. Whatever. Damn, I didn't know a human could look so much like a tomato. Tomato pasta sauce with 10 dishes of spaghetti, 50 meatballs, and 20 pieces of garlic bread, yum. Harry looked at his friend as Gohan's eyes glazed over. Hey Gohan, what's wrong? Gohan snapped out of his food daydream. Nothing, just thinking about food. Well, I guess I'm really hungry. Any way to get food here? Hermione jumped in. A trolley comes here with several types of chocolate to eat. In fact, it just arrived. Gohan nearly jumped at the woman attending them. I'll have all of it. Everyone's sweat dropped. The lady attending him cleared her voice and frowned at him. I'm afraid you can't do that, young man. The other students need food too. Gohan pouted and gave her the puppy dog eyes. I'm sure they can wait, miss. I'm famished and in dire need of food. I'm sure a beautiful, kind young woman like you would never let a poor boy like me starve to death. Gohan smirked on the inside when he saw the woman's expression soften. Those eyes always worked for him. Oh, well, I'm sure they can wait a few more hours before eating. If you have the money, I'll be pleased let you buy it all, the woman softly told him. Gohan's face brightened up. Really? Thank you, miss. I really appreciate it. He gave her the money and bought all the candy. Gohan dug into his mountain of chocolate, ravaging it. Everyone marveled at his appetite. Fred nudged George. I love this guy. Me too. Everyone but Hermione, as she was repulsed by his terrible manners. That's disgusting. At least show some decency. Hermione scolded. Oh good heavens, stop yapping. I want to concentrate on eating. Hermione turned bright red, utterly furious, looking like she was going to choke him. Gohan looked up at her and glibly remarked, wow Hermione, you should get angry more often. You sure do look a lot cuter when you're angry. Hermione huffed, not entirely sure what to make of his backhanded compliment, while the boys began to snicker, but then decided to settle exactly how she felt about this Gohan. Oh the nerve. To think that I actually thought you were polite. Ha. She crossed her arms and glared at him with vehemence. The Saiyan ignored her while he continued stuffing his face with chocolate. Ginny, having snapped out of her state of complete awe of Gohan's cuteness, now was in complete awe of Gohan's eating habits. Her mouth stayed slightly agape as Gohan tore through the mountain of chocolate. As they made their way to Hogwarts, they all had a good time conversing. Gohan told them many things about his home, all of his new friends curious about his life in Japan. Harry told Gohan about his life. His parents had been killed by Voldemort, he had to live with his terrible relatives, and his first year of Hogwarts was amazing and full of adventure. Hermione warmed up to Gohan despite the recent incident, and she was delighted that finally there was someone as ambitious about learning as she was. It's good to know that someone here isn't a lazy prat who doesn't listen in class, she remarked as she looked at Ron. Hey. It's not my fault the teachers are boring and the textbooks aren't exactly fun. Gohan smirked at him. You know Ron glared at Gohan, but Gohan continued unperturbed, studying isn't always fun. Hell, life isn't always fun, so that's not a valid excuse. Ron huffed. I can't come up with even one valid reason to listen to know-it-alls like you, so why should I? Gohan glanced at Hermione who was looking rather irritated. It probably wouldn't be best for Hermione to take this one. Hermione was about to reply until Gohan motioned her to stop. Surprisingly, Hermione complied. Just because you can't come up with a reason not to listen to us, it doesn't mean there isn't a reason to listen to us. I can give you a bunch of reasons why you should, though. Ron glared at him, about to open his mouth when he realized he couldn't refute him. Ron could have taken the I'm innocent till proven guilty stance, but he had a feeling that the nerd duo would easily shoot him down. Therefore, he proceeded to ignore Gohan and Hermione. He liked his new friends a lot, but it still frustrated him when he realized that if any of them began to probe him about certain parts of his past, he would have to either not say anything or lie. If Hermione started to question him, he might be in big trouble, given how smart she was, but he was quite confident that he could outwit her. As smart as she was, he knew he was smarter, although he would not say that to her face, unless he wanted her to be extremely angry. About half an hour later, the train came to a sudden stop, and the driver confirmed that they had arrived at Hogwarts. Excited chatter erupted once again throughout the train. Young wizards and witches hurriedly shoved their way outside. Once Gohan and his friends were outside, Harry, standing next to the Saiyan, informed him that he had to go on the boats with the first years. Really? Okay, see you guys later. They said their goodbyes, and Gohan motioned to Ginny. Come on Ginny, let's go. Ginny looked startled and then blushed madly while walking toward him with her gaze firmly fixed on the ground. Gohan scratched the back of his head the sun way, with an amused grin at the sight before him. They walked together in awkward silence, away from the other first years and toward the small boats, until Gohan broke it. Ginny, there's no need to be nervous around me. It'd be better if you weren't so embarrassed to talk to me. Come on. Let's have some fun. I won't think you're stupid or something. Ginny's face lit up a bit and gave him a small smile, her blush diminishing. That's exactly what I was afraid of. I didn't want to make a bad impression. I would think of saying something, but then I'd decide not to because I thought you'd think it was stupid. Gohan smiled at her. Just relax and say whatever comes to mind. I won't judge you. By the way, your brother, Fred, told me that you only act this way around Harry and me. Why do you care so much about what we think of you before getting to know us? Ginny blushed madly again and seemed to be more interested in anything but the boy standing in front of her. Well, Harry is the boy who lived, and you're really. She paused for a moment, clearly fighting a mental battle. A mental battle Gohan wasn't sure about until he remembered the chick flicks Mirai Trunks forced him to watch this past summer. Cute. Gohan blushed a bit too, and since he was not exactly an expert, he was tongue-tied. If Mirai Trunks were watching Gohan, he'd probably be deeply disappointed in his pupil and would say something along the lines, I took you under my romance wing for nothing. Come on Gohan. Why do you think I made you watch all those chick flicks? Screw Trunks. It's not like I'm dealing with hormone-crazed girls. We're 11 for Kami's sake. Thanks Ginny. I think you're pretty cute too. Ginny's face glowed, thrilled about his approval of her. Really? She whispered, looking at him dreamily. Gohan awkwardly chuckled. Really Ginny? Ginny giggled and hugged him tightly. Gohan was slightly taken back by her reaction, and it took a few seconds to realize what was happening and hug her back. This feels pretty good. Like when Lime hugs me. Girl hugs are pretty cool in general I guess. In some other timeline. What the hell are you doing Gohan? Talk to her. The wet Mirai Trunks screamed at his magical sea Gohan whenever he is having a possibly romantic moment ball. Trunks had been taking a shower when his magical ball, well maybe it wasn't magic because Bulma made it, started acting up. He had heard a distinct screech that he knew could only be produced by his magical ball. Excited, he had run out of the shower, completely naked, and into his room where the ball was. He had plopped onto his couch and had watched the ball convert into a large theater screen. And here he was, watching Gohan's first ever romantic experience. Trunks groaned at the seemingly unending silence. Well hey, I've got to hand it to Gohan, not only is she a cute girl, not that I'm a pedo, but also I didn't expect some action from this baby until a couple of more years. Well, at least not until Gohan hit puberty. Trunks squinted his eyes when he spotted something on Gohan's upper lip. He walked up close to the large ultra-high definition screen and squinted his eyes even more. What's that? Is that some hair I see? Oh my Kami, Gohan's growing facial hair. My great friend is growing up so fast, Trunks said in a motherly tone while repressing a couple of tears. Trunks happily sighed and plopped back onto his red heart-shaped love couch. He then balled his hand into a fist, exasperated. What are you waiting for Gohan? Her. I've taught you better than that. You should know that the guy makes the first damn move. As if Gohan had actually heard him, Gohan told Ginny to stop being embarrassed about speaking with him. Trunks was still pissed off but relieved. The man speaks. Finally, thank Kami. I was going to get a heart attack and it'd be all his fault. Trunks then looked at Ginny's reaction. Upon seeing Ginny smile, Trunks yelled victoriously. Oh you sly dog you. Where did you learn those smooth moves huh? From the suave Trunks briefs of course. Trunks continued excitedly watching the exchange, cheering on Gohan while doing so. Give me a G. Give me an O. Give me an H. Give me an A. Give me an N. What's that spell? Gohan. After Ginny told Gohan he was cute, Trunks was ecstatic. Haha. I knew it. Gohan, you owe me big time. If it weren't for me, she wouldn't have said that. It's all the work of the suave Trunks brief. I should start selling advice books for this stuff. Trunks' elated look quickly turned into one of disgust as he heard nothing coming from the TV. What are you waiting for Gohan? I taught you better than that. You're supposed to go in for the Kami damn kill. Kiss the fucking girl already. Trunks' ferocity quickly shifted back to approval after Gohan gave Ginny a compliment. Playing the wily old fox. I could have done better, but you did decent enough, Gohan, my boy. When Trunks saw Ginny hug Gohan, he exploded with glee. Alright my man. You've got her in the bag. Next year, a little more directness and she's in your bed. You've made me a proud man, Gohan. Trunks broke down and started shedding tears of pride. Back in the usual timeline. The blonde girl tapped a raven-haired girl's shoulder. Hey Videl, look over there. She pointed at the scene of two children hugging. Isn't that cute? The blonde girl sighed dreamily. Videl shrugged and moved her gaze to the two kids. Sure Arasa, cute, Videl drawled. And look at that guy, he's a real cutie. Arasa squealed. Videl rolled her eyes at Arasa's reaction. Her friend was probably the first girl she knew that had begun to think that all guys weren't jerks and could actually be cute. Videl on the other hand, thought all guys were a bunch of jerks, especially her friend standing next to her, Sharpener. Sharpener sneered. Ha, he's probably a dweeb. Videl decided to look back at the two kids. She looked at the dark-haired boy, certain she had seen him before. Where have I seen that guy? She was deep in thought for a few moments. She snapped her head back. That's it. What's it? Arasa and Sharpener asked in unison. Videl glared at the boy. That's the jerk I met at the ice cream parlor. Arasa tilted her head and kept her gaze on the boy. Are you sure he's that bad, Videl? I mean, from what you've told me, it seems that he just snapped at you because you snapped at him first. Videl turned her glare to her friend. Yes, Arasa. He's a total jerk. He insulted my father, the man who saved the world from Cell. But didn't you start it? I didn't want his company and he kept on pushing me. Then he got pissed off that I didn't want to talk to him and verbally abused me to comfort his hurt pride, Videl hissed. Arasa sighed, knowing that there was no use trying to argue with her friend. Sharpener smirked and slightly tilted his head towards Videl. Hey Videl, want me to take care of the dweeb for you? Videl put her hands on her hips and turned her glare towards Sharpener. PFFF, like I need your help, Sharpener. I could take that guy out if I wanted to. Arasa looked at Videl and Sharpener disapprovingly. She sighed again and gave the Saiyan a sympathetic look. Gohan and Ginny broke off their hug when they heard Hagrid's booming voice tell all the kids to get into the boats. Ginny looked up at Gohan with a bright smile. Gohan looked down at her face as she told him to hurry up to get into the boats and realized how pretty she was. She had bright brown eyes, a few freckles, and lengthy flaming red hair. Once Ginny stopped talking, she grabbed Gohan's hand to follow her. She was now definitely more confident, her blunt nature coming out. They arrived at the boats. Gohan waved at Hagrid, who was several meters away at the other boats. Hi Hagrid. Hagrid paled a little, but then chuckled. Hi Gohan. I'm glad to see you. Gohan kept his grip on Ginny's hand and motioned to her with his free hand to get into the boat. Ginny blushed at his politeness and whispered a thank you. Gohan helped Ginny in and got in himself while maintaining his hold on Ginny's hand. Gohan, you can let go of my hand now. It's okay. Gohan shook his head and looked at Ginny. I like holding your hand, Ginny. Ginny turned a bright crimson. Since all the students fit onto the other boats, Gohan and Ginny conveniently were left alone in their own boat. The boats magically floated off, carrying them toward Hogwarts. Ginny laid her head on Gohan's shoulder and sighed at the beautiful scene. Hogwarts was breathtaking. Twinkling stars littered the night sky, and the castle's majesty shimmered as its bright lights glowed. Keeping her head on Gohan's shoulder along with her gaze on the magnificent scene, she spoke. This is beautiful. Ever since Percy went to Hogwarts, I've always been so eager to go too. I've even dreamt about the boat ride here. It always looked so beautiful in my dreams, but I never imagined it would be this beautiful. It's incredible. I've never seen anything like it. They continued to enjoy the moment in silence. Gohan began to think over what he could do, since he began to realize he really liked being around Ginny. They were already holding hands, hugging, lying down on shoulders and stuff, and having moments like this. I guess you'd call this a romantic moment. Gohan thought, and they also thought each other was cute. Both Mirai and Lime told him those were things that couples did. So, should he ask her? They told him that was what he was supposed to do. He didn't know better, but he did like her, so it made sense to him. Hey Ginny. I want to ask you something. She looked up at him, curiosity etched in her eyes. Yeah. Is something wrong, Gohan? Gohan gulped. He wasn't nervous before, but all of a sudden he was for some reason. Just a moment ago he thought rejection was highly unlikely given how well they were getting along, but now it seemed to be a very real possibility, no matter what his brain told him. He struggled for words, but then finally managed to get them out. Well, I was wondering, since, you know, I like being around you and I think you like being around me, and I like you a lot and I think you like me a lot. He trailed off. Ginny looked expectant. Go on. If you want to be my girlfriend, he blurted out. Ginny looked down, seemingly barely able to contain herself, a small smile on her face. Gohan wasn't sure what to think. He wasn't experienced in this type of thing. Even Mirai, despite his vast knowledge on romance and girls, wasn't entirely sure which initial reactions meant acceptance and which meant rejection, unless they were blatantly obvious of course. Really? Ginny asked, hoping that this wasn't some cruel joke that her brothers had come up with. Really, Ginny? Ginny's beamed at Gohan and jumped into his arms. Of course I'll be your girlfriend. Gohan felt cheerful and hugged Ginny back as Ginny nuzzled his chest. About 5 minutes later the boat ride was over. They walked up the steps with the other first years until they stood just outside the castle, facing a stern-looking woman who introduced herself as Professor McGonagall. She told them to keep still in an orderly line in order to be sorted. Gohan and Ginny were talking about their lives back home until someone rudely bumped into Gohan. "Get out of the way, wimp. You're in the way of a future president." Gohan turned away from Ginny to glare at the uncouth boy. The boy had short brown hair and was about Gohan's height. His robes were luxurious and had a bald eagle embroidered on the right corner of it, not so large that it looked silly or juvenile, but large enough to be noticed. His tanned face was pompous, and his gray eyes were piercing. Gohan glared intensely at the kid and icily replied. "Why should you be allowed to cut in line?" The boy pointed to the bald eagle. "Do you see this here? If you aren't as stupid as I think you are, then you know that this is the national animal of the greatest country on earth. I am Ryan Kennedy, son of the great Michael Kennedy, the president of the Magical Ministry of the United States of America. Since I'm a president's son I can do whatever I want to you peasants." Kennedy sneered at Gohan and then smirked as some of the first years marveled at Kennedy's status. "I'm Gohan's son, and I am definitely not pleased to meet you. You're just a rambling snobby fool that's making your country look bad. You think that just because of your status you can walk all over me, don't you? Well kid, I don't care who you are because to me, you're just some pompous big-headed prick craving attention your parents never gave you." Gohan clearly struck a chord when he talked about Kennedy's parents. Kennedy hissed at him. "You won't get away with insulting me, son. You'll wish you never crossed me. Out of my way now." He pushed Gohan again. Gohan stood his ground firmly. "Hell no. I'm not moving." Kennedy struck Gohan's stomach but only ended up howling in pain, complaining that it felt like hitting a brick wall. "Not so strong are you, Kennedy?" Kennedy glared at Gohan and said nothing, turning away to conspire with his friends. Gohan paid no attention to Kennedy, after all, he seemed like no threat whatsoever. He was just an annoying bug waiting to be crushed. Ginny looked at Gohan proudly. "You were great, Gohan." Gohan grinned at her. "It was nothing, Jin. It's not hard making a rat face like him go away." Ginny laughed, nodded, and then caught Gohan off guard when she got on her tiptoes and pecked him on the lips. Gohan blushed and did the famous ungrin. Ginny giggled and whispered into his ear, "You're really cute." Gohan blushed even brighter and scratched the back of his head. He could have sworn he heard Mirai somewhere. In another timeline. "Go Gohan. Go go. Go Gohan. Go go." In the usual timeline. Weasley, Ginny. Professor McGonagall called for the sorting. Ginny walked down the long path to the sorting hat. "Gryffindor." It immediately yelled out. The other Weasleys cheering and high fives amused Gohan. Gohan mused on his own house placement. He recalled his chat with his friends about the houses of Hogwarts. His friends were all in Gryffindor, but he wasn't sure if he himself would fit in the house. From what he had read, it seemed like Gryffindors were more rash than the other houses and took unnecessary risks when some thinking would have been better. Ravenclaw appealed to him because the house represented the ideals of wisdom, intelligence, and creativity, and many Ravenclaws still had some Gryffindor traits. Hufflepuff represented loyalty and tolerance, but it seemed like Hufflepuffs were the most likely to be lacking in courage. Finally, Gohan considered the wild card, Slytherin. Gohan chuckled when he remembered Ron's endless rant about Slytherins. "They're all good for nothings, they're all in cahoots and support the Dark Lord, they're all slimy gits." Gohan was never a fan of such generalizations and shut Ron out for the rest of his rant. The Saiyan's readings taught him the basic ideals of the Slytherin house, which admittedly seemed very appealing to him. The Slytherin house valued resourcefulness, craftiness, pureblood heritage, this put Gohan off a bit, and most important to Gohan, ambition. The Saiyan blood running through Gohan's veins made him naturally ambitious. Extremely had a feeling Slytherin may just be the right house for him, but Ginny being put in the rival house put him off somewhat. "If she really likes me then houses shouldn't matter to her," Gohan reasoned. Professor McGonagall yelled out, "Son, Gohan." Gohan walked toward the hat, anxious to know what it would decide. "Ah, look what we have here. A truly unique one. A Saiyan. Very interesting." Gohan stifled a gasp, not wanting to draw attention to himself. "How do you know I'm a Saiyan?" The hat chuckled. "I can read your mind, Gohan. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone." Gohan relaxed. "Thank you." The Slytherins cheered for their new housemate. The Sorting Hat's encouraging words still fresh in his mind, Gohan couldn't help but smile as he got up from the stool until he began walking toward his new house table and noticed some icy glares and apprehensive looks coming from some of the students of the other 3 houses, especially Gryffindor. The half-Saiyan shrugged it off though, reasoning they had no reason to dislike him before getting to know him. As Gohan paced down to the Slytherin table, he attempted to pick out certain faces. After a few seconds, he successfully singled out his friends, that is if they still were his friends. Ginny gave him an uneasy smile, while the Weasley twins looked taken back at the announcement and raised their eyebrows at Gohan. Harry was unreadable. Gohan was relieved that they weren't exactly gnashing their teeth. Well, at least they weren't. Ron and Hermione were an entirely different matter. The two looked as if they were trying to eviscerate him on the spot with the intensity of their gaze. They then turned to Harry, clearly wanting to spew out their vindictive feelings about the new Slytherin. Gohan focused in a little and heard Ron say, "Harry, we can't trust that guy. Let's just tell the git to leave us alone." Ron maybe. "Hey Gohan, over here. You can sit with me." Gohan mentally cursed at the tan boy who beckoned him. The Saiyan was extremely interested in what Harry was saying about him. Gohan sighed and kept on walking towards the Slytherin table, trying his best to appear unperturbed. Gohan sat down next to the boy. The boy had messy dark hair, azure eyes that were quite a contrast to his other darker features, and a devious look permanently etched onto his face. "Hey dude, my name's Andres Perez," the boy greeted him, his accent obvious but not thick. Gohan acknowledged the boy with a slight nod. "Hi Andres. As you already know, I'm Gohan's son. I take it, like me, you're not from Britain?" Andres nodded. "I'm from Spain. I was planning on going to a school in Madrid, but as I imagine you already know, Hogwarts has this new international program. Given that my parents are one of the most famous curse breakers in the world, admissions really wanted to recruit me, which they managed to do obviously, although it took a lot to convince my parents, but I can't really talk about that. Who wouldn't want the son of the great Pyre's family, after all?" Gohan shrugged his shoulders. "Beats me. And where are you from?" "Japan." A sly smile encroached Andre's features. "Really? So how are the Japanese girls? I've heard they're really cute." Gohan chuckled, breaking his apathetic aura. "Don't beat me up too much for this, but I'll be honest and tell you that I've barely talked to girls in my life or even seen other girls who aren't at least 3 times my age." Andres looked at him as if he were an abomination to the normal world. "What's wrong with you man? Dude, come on, you have to go out to enjoy the beautiful world of girls. I scored my first kiss a few months ago and it was great. Maybe I'm an early bloomer, but still, how can you be so unexposed?" Gohan gave Andres the famous grin. "Well, I guess I've just been too unlucky all my life. You see, I live far away from the city, about 600 miles from it in the mountain area. I've been homeschooled all my life by my mom, so I've never really had the chance to experience the beautiful world of girls as you put it." Andres looked at him sympathetically. "That's awful. I can't imagine living like that, no one around my age near me. Oh the horror." Andres shuddered intensely and proceeded to act melodramatically. Gohan laughed at his reaction. This Andres kid was quite expressive and Gohan couldn't help but be amused by it. "Nah, it's not that bad. Every once in a while I get pretty bored, but nature sure has gifts of her own. It's breathtaking when you take the time to explore the area. If I didn't know that magic existed, I would say that the forest and mountains are the most magical places on Earth. I'm not sure if you can imagine it, but just take my word for it." Andres bobbed his head and gave him a knowing smile. "Dude, I sure can imagine it. My parents took me on one of their safer curse-breaking missions in the Japanese mountains, and just like you said, I couldn't even breathe when I first saw it. Hell, I was turning purple until my parents started shaking me and demanding that I started breathing or else." Andres' young boyish spirit permeated the room. Gohan grinned at the Spanish boy. "I didn't mean it literally. But hey, which mountain area were you in?" If they had been where he lived, Gohan would have to conduct some holiday exploring in the mountains that he thought he knew so well. "We were in the 445 mountain area." Gohan's eyes widened a little, clearly excited. "That's close to where I live. I live in the 439 mountain area. Is there some cool magical stuff over there?" Andres smirked and nodded. "Yep, a whole shitload of things. My parents even told me that there were a few places even they couldn't break into because they were protected by wards that would take them too long to break down because our trip wasn't long enough." This thrilled Gohan. "Awesome. Now I'm going to be awfully busy checking out the mountains during the holidays. Hey, if I find anything, we can split it 50-50. It only seems fair." Andres chuckled, giving him a tart look. "What? Why are you looking at me like that?" The Spanish boy sneered at the Saiyan's question. "I guess it's true, all Slytherins have an innate ability to sneer, including me," Gohan thought. "Kid, don't be stupid." Gohan scowled at this. The magic protecting that place is so ridiculously advanced that we can't even fathom how powerful those wards are. If my parents, possibly the greatest curse breakers in the world, said they were extremely powerful wards, what makes you think you can break them? It was now Gohan's turn to sneer, making Andres frown at him. Oh, I have my ways, Andres. So ridiculously advanced that you can't even fathom how powerful those ways are. I'm sure it's easy enough and wouldn't take long. Andres spitefully glowered at Gohan and firmly crossed his arms. Really now? So all of a sudden you're better than my parents? If you're so damn sure that you can best my parents, why don't you break all those damn wards, take pictures as proof that you actually got inside the mountain, and show me the goddamn treasure, you cocky bastard. Gohan waved off the spite being thrown at him, nonchalantly looked at his pissed off maybe friend, and coolly replied, fine then. I'll do everything you say. If anything, Gohan apathetically agreeing to Andres' demands infuriated the Spanish boy even more. Andres had to do everything in his power to keep his fiery temper in check. He gritted his teeth and hotly kept conversing. Since it seems like you're so smug about this shit, how about we make a bet? Gohan rolled his eyes. Andres caught this and was about to punch him until he caught his own arm. Sure, why not? Good. If you don't break those wards and bring back the treasure, then you're going to have do something absolutely horrifying that I will come up with. Sure. Now when I do get in and bring back the treasure, you'll have to find a way to bring some of you parents' advanced magic books to let me borrow, and you'll have to be my personal assistant who may or may not have rights for a week. Andres curled his lips in delight, catching Gohan off guard. Honestly Gohan, I'd love to see things from your perspective. Unfortunately, I can't seem to get my head that far up my own ass. Bugger off, Gohan snapped, fed up with his new friend or new enemy. Gohan wasn't too sure at this point. With pleasure my comrade. Andres haughtily replied. He turned around with a huff and walked away looking for an empty seat far away from Gohan. Gohan was still cooling down when he heard an interesting name yelled out. Kennedy, Ryan. Gohan rolled his eyes when everyone started murmuring about the cool American being the son of the American president. The pompous kid haughtily strutted his way toward the Sorting Hat. Please don't put him in Slytherin, please don't put him in Slytherin, please don't put him in Slytherin. Gohan pleaded to Kami. Oh, who am I kidding? Where else could the slime ball end up? That disgusting thing is going to be placed on my head. Ha, what insanity. Kennedy snobbishly snarled. Once again, Gohan rolled his eyes. This kid keeps on outdoing himself. He somehow repulses me more and more. What an arrogant, self-centered, egotistical dickhead. The half-Saiyan took delight in noting Professor McGonagall's infuriated look. You need to learn more respect, you arrogant bag of rubbish. Put on that hat now. Gohan took pleasure in seeing Kennedy's horror-struck face. What a coward. Kennedy grudgingly complied with the professor's demands and placed the old hat on his head. The second he put on the old hat it announced, Slytherin. Damn it, one more prick to deal with. Some cheering came from the Slytherin table until Professor McGonagall faced Kennedy again. Now sincerely say your apologies to everyone here. Gohan gleefully took in the sight of the miserable boy before him. Kennedy gritted his teeth. I'm sorry. He then trudged towards the Slytherin table. I guess today wasn't too bad after all. Satan, Viddle. Never mind. I completely forgot about that harpy. Where is the harpy going to be placed? My school life is looking bleaker and bleaker by the second. The amount of murmurings doubled at that sound of her name. Gohan had to roll his eyes for the millionth time. He scowled when he picked up the words her dad is the savior of the earth and the man who beat Cell, choosing then to not even look at the girl. It took several moments for the hat to decide, but eventually it announced as Gohan had initially expected, Slytherin. The other houses looked at her in disbelief, wondering how the daughter of the Earth Savior was placed in Slytherin. Gohan sighed, as if he had just suffered a great debacle. The unfortunate Saiyan put his elbow on the table and held his head with his hand. He was fed up with the sorting and dozed off a little, giving his attention over to floating candles. I should try that at a party at Capsule Corporation one day. Bulma would freak. He still caught a few names despite his attention being drawn to the bewitched candles. Pencil, Arasa. Slytherin. Paper, Sharpener. A few snickers went around at the names. Slytherin. A few minutes later, the sorting ceremony had finally concluded, much to Gohan's relief. He looked at his golden plate expectantly, impatiently waiting for the food to magically appear. He needed to eat now, or everyone else in this room would be in grave danger. A hungry Saiyan was a dangerous Saiyan. Gohan was exasperated when he saw Dumbledore stand up, looking to announce something. Despite his age, the tall old man seemed to be filled with boundless energy and was glowing with excitement. Over his half-moon spectacles, he carried the famous twinkle in his light blue eyes that confirmed the ever-present youthfulness inside. I can see from your anxious faces that you are very bored with the old man in front of you and eager to eat and socialize with your friends, so dig in. Finally. Gohan thought and dug in without hesitation. To every single person's amazement, the Saiyan absolutely ravaged and tore through the food. Heaps of plates of roast beef, mashed potatoes, cakes, turkey, steak, bread, fruit and more disappeared into the insatiable Saiyan's endless pit of a stomach. The students gawked at the ravenous Saiyan, completely shocked at what they were witnessing. Even the staff gawked at Gohan, while the headmaster looked quite bemused by the scandal Gohan was creating. Jesus. I've never seen anything like this. Gohan turned around to meet Andre's grin. You're awesome, dude. Andres exclaimed. I thought I told you to bugger off. It's no fun without you. Those other Slytherins are a bunch of stuck-up pricks. Gohan rolled his eyes, yep again. And you said I was an arrogant prick. Andres chuckled. Well, let's say not even you can stick your head so far up your ass that you can look at things from the famous Slytherin perspective. Gohan chuckled too, all too knowing of the reputed Slytherin arrogance. Of course, not every Slytherin was extremely self-centered, but a lot of them were. You would